Hello, Mr. Bond. Oh, I'm sorry. Hello, puppies and kittens. Welcome to another episode of Blasphemers Bible. We are in First Chronicles 4. I don't even know how to make a joke out of that.
First
It's
Chromium.
just so early in the stages of writing, they didn't know how to number things or make chapters correctly. Anybody got any opening comments?
Yeah, unfortunately, we're still stuck in a genealogy.
Yeah, we're also in a weird schedule for right now because the reason we're doing this on a Thursday, and I think our next episode is going to be on a Thursday too, is that Tomer has something to do this Saturday that he can't miss. Or
Passover Eve, basically.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, and
Oh,
then
you
next
can miss
Saturday
that.
I will be
No,
out
I
of town and
can't.
unavailable for the show, so we got to jumble things up a little bit. Thank you, Lawrence and others, for being able to accommodate us. And
Yeah, so
somebody-
the first, I was going to say the first three chapters we've done so far has kind of been more important people. It's like kind of track the descendants. It's going from Adam and it goes all the way to David, Solomon, the kings of Judah, and then it goes after the exile into like what's called the Resh Galuta, or like the head of the exile, the sort of crown prince in exile. And it goes to, I can't remember exactly how far, it goes through Zerubbabel and so forth. This chapter is going to be weird. It's going to be jumping all over the shop. It's going to try and, I think the Chronicles try and go like tribe by tribe. So starting with, let's say, Judah. So we've already done some of Judah because we've mentioned, because that's the family of David comes from that tribe. But now it's going to kind of backtrack and go to a different part of the same tribe, and it probably will keep that up for the next chapter. But there's a lot of like unclear connections. You'll get a direct son family tree, and then it will jump to somebody had these children, and it's like a little self-contained tree that has no connection to the main tree, which is interesting, but also kind of makes it more difficult to read as well, because if you're trying to keep track of where you are in the sort of...
And just to clarify, no prophecies of Jesus?
No, not here. Not for a while.
All right. And Isaac, as Lilith is not here yet, who should be reading today?
Do you want me to read the first chapter?
I mean, I can read the first chapter. It's not a big deal.
Okay.
I think I'll go through verse 23. Just because that's where the section breaks off in here. All right. Chapter 4. The sons of Judah: Perez, Hezron, Carmi, Hur, and Shobal. Reaiah, son of Shobal, became the father of Yahath, and Yahath became the father of Ahumai and Lahad. These were the families of these Zorathites. These were the sons of Etam: Jezreel, Ishma, Idbash, and the name of their sister was Hazelelponi.
Oh, yeah, I remember her in high school.
Hatzlel
and Penuel was the father of Gedor, and Ezer was the father of Husha. These were the sons of Hur, the firstborn of Ephrathoth, the father of Bethlehem. Asher, father of Tekoa, had two wives, Hela and Naara. Naara bore him Ahuzam, Hefer, Temeni, and Haashachtari. These were
There's a woman in here named Heifer. I'm sorry.
Where the hell was I? Yeah, these were the sons of Naara. The sons of Hela: Zereth, Izhar, and Ethnan. Koz became the father of Anub, Zobeba, and the families of Aharel, son of Harum. Jabez was honored more than his brothers, and his mother named him Jabez, saying, "Because I bore him in pain." unlike the others. Uh,
Yeah, the Hebrew is, his name is Yabetz, and the Hebrew word that she uses for I bore him in pain is Ba'otsev. Otsev is like an expression of pain.
so Yabetz called on the God of Israel, saying, "Oh, that you would bless me and enlarge my territory, and that your hand might be with me, and that you would keep me from hurt and harm." And God granted what he asked. Caleb, the brother of Shuha, became the father of Mehir, who was the father of Eshton. Eshton became the father of Beth Rapha, Paseah, and Tehina, the father of Ir-Nahash. These are the men of Rekha, the sons of Kenaz, Othniel and Sariah, and the sons of Othniel, Hathath, and Meonothai. Meonothai became the father of Ophrah, and Sariah became the father of Joab, father of Geharashim. So called because they were artisans. The sons of Caleb, son of Jephunneh, Iru, Ella, and Naam, and the son of Ella, Kenaz. The sons of Yahalil, Ziph, Zipha, Tiria, and Asarel. The sons of Esra, Yether, Mered, Epher, and Yalon. These are the sons of Bethiah, daughter of Pharaoh, whom Mered married. And she conceived and bore Miriam, Shammai, and Ishba, father of Eshtemoa. And his Judean wife bore Yered, father of Gedor, Heber, father of Soko, and Yekuthiel, or Yekuthiel, father of Zanoah. The
I had
sons.
a cousin, or an uncle rather, with one of those names, but it wasn't the way you pronounced it.
Was it just Jared?
No, it was Heber.
Oh, okay, that awful. The sons of the wife of Hodiah, the sister of Naham, were the fathers of Kala, the Garmite, and Eshtemoa, the Maakathite. The sons of Shimon, Amnon, Rinan, Ben Hanan, and Tilon. The sons of Ishi, Zoheth, and Ben Zoheth. Clever. The sons of Shelah, son of Judah. Father of Leka, Laada, father of Marasha, and the families of the guild of linen workers at Beth Ashbea, and Joachim, and the men of Kozeba and Joash, and Seraph, who married into Moab but returned to Lehem. The records are ancient. This is what it says in
That's
brackets
what
there.
it says in the Bible, in the Old Testament.
Yeah, it says these records are ancient. These were the
Or it
potters
could
and
also
inhabitants.
mean this was copied from somewhere.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Are you reading it in Hebrew, Isaac?
Well, the Hebrew is, if you literally read it, it would say, and these words are ancient, but apparently it could have been like mu'atakim, which means like it was copied, but and then the word was corrupted over time. But that's like
Well,
no,
another
I
one
don't-
here says these matters are ancient.
Yeah, and I've read some various suggestions. But I think the most likely is that these are ancient writings, and so I can the chronicler says either they're known or it's not really.
It makes sense that they're copying fragments, because it's very fragmented, and I'll get into that when you finish.
Say this last line here. These were the potters and inhabitants of Netaim and Gadara. They lived there with the king in his service.
Wait a minute.
Oh,
Ghidorah?
Gedera.
Gedera.
Godzilla?
No.
Sorry.
I kind of wonder
Actually-
what how the Septuagint takes.
There is
that
actually a modern
verse
town.
22.
Yeah, it is. What did you say, Lawrence?
No, I'm looking at the Septuagint to see what it says there for verse 22. Just kind of interested.
All right, we got some
Um,
comments. The Lumpen Lodge offers $2. Says Ethan Osborne here. Greetings. How you do, Ethan? And then we got a super sticker from Puggles for $1.49 Australian. And then we have, what does that say? That's Rimmers Briger, which I'm sure I'm saying wrong. Aaron Ra, there are any prophecies? There are any prophets? Are there any prophecies of Jesus until after he supposedly died? I'm betting almost all of them were written after he died.
Well, I mean, Christians claim a lot of prophecies about Jesus in the Old Testament, which are not about him.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them might be messianic prophecies, like this is what the Messiah is going to do, and then the people who wrote the New Testament knew about this prophecy, so they would write that Jesus fulfilled it. But some of them were like nothing to do with him, like the idea of the.
What I've gotten from Christian apologists when we argue this,
Mhm.
they'll take a piece of a sentence of a particular translation, and in that particular translation, that piece of that sentence is somehow prophetic. But only that piece and only in that translation. And the rest of the sentence is not prophetic at all. So what they're saying is, okay, this thing that I just read reminded me of this other thing, and therefore it's prophecy. And that seems to be their legitimate argument. When they talk about 300 fulfilled prophecies, that's what they're talking about. How they try to retrofit Jesus into everything. By the way, I have a question, Lawrence. I got into it with some believer the other day. We were arguing about abortion in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave 3 different versions for Numbers 5:22, and they said, well, they can just discount everything I said because I quoted the NIV, and the NIV is not reliable. They said, compared to, guess what?
Was it the KJV? I need to make another KJV video, I swear.
Yeah, so you can just dismiss and discount. I gave 3 different versions, but they're going to dismiss all of that because one of them, they found an article online that said the NIV is unreliable, as if there's a version that is reliable.
The KJV is so much worse. Like the NIV has issues, the KJV is way worse.
I get the impression that right now you're reading the new revised standard updated edition.
Yeah.
Okay, as I have been also.
Yeah.
That appears to be your preference. Would everyone agree with that as far as English translations?
I mean, to my understanding, this is the one that's currently used by scholars when they're doing stuff in English, at least. Yeah.
I did want to mention that some of the translation that you were saying, like, it seemed to smooth over some of the problems with the original text, or not original, whatever, the Hebrew. For example,
Well,
there's
I mean, they
places that
also
say-
they give plenty of like notes on the side to say like, oh,
okay,
sometimes
okay.
it shows up as this.
This
Yeah.
makes more sense. I see. You're reading the one that makes more sense, even if the Hebrew text is wrong. Like, for example,
Well, yeah,
like,
because they're not going directly from the Hebrew. They so the reason why I prefer this one
Mm.
is because it takes the Hebrew text, the Greek, you know, Latin,
Right, you said
Syriac,
Yitzhar,
like
for
it takes
example.
from a bunch of different traditions.
right.
I think we need a new
Yeah,
Bible, the new reverse standard updated version.
The new reversed standard.
Yes, that would take care of everything.
So we got another comment from My Unfinished Journey, offers $2.22 and says, "Hail Nero, Aaron and company, and hail retconned Jesus."
Okay.
I like retconned Jesus.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. One of the things that you said was like the son of blah blah blah, but the Hebrew was like the sons of, when there was just one son listed. So which makes more sense if there's only one son listed, that it would be the son of and not. Another thing to mention about what we just read, if you noticed, you did a lot of times you were saying he became the father of, but then it also used the expression of like the father of, like he is the father of, and it's a bit confusing. And at least Steinsaltz seems to think that this seems to imply, like when it says the father of something, it doesn't mean this isn't the name of his son. This is the name of like the city that he was the leader of it. So you would get things like, he begot this, he begot that, he begot that, the father of blah blah blah. Because I mean, one of the examples that you read, for example, was the father of Ir Nachash, which literally it means city of the snake or city of snakes.
I've been there.
Well, the snake city. Hey, Lilith.
Gentlemen, I live
You're late.
late. I told you I was going to be late. Yes. So, have we gotten into the endless line of names, or should I?
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
More or less, if you read this chapter, it's really, really confusing. You start off with like, oh, let's just backtrack because we just did all of David's family. We also did a little bit of another son of Hetzron, and we did like a whole long line, and we ended up by some guy that nobody knows who he is. And now it kind of goes back to and does another son of Hetzron, right? It does have a little introduction where it goes Judah, Peretz, Hetzron, Carmi, Hor, Shoval. And then it kind of goes into like one little subfamily, and then it moves back and does another subfamily. And it does quite a few places where it literally doesn't even say who they are. Right? It's just like the sons of Ezra were Jether, Mered, Epher. Like, who's Ezra? Doesn't say.
My unfinished sock adds, what is this? Don't force fit Jesus retcons. Like and share the stream instead.
Yes. Jesus, the Christians will force feed Jesus into anything and everything. They let them do the work.
Lilith, just a quick reminder, the thing you sent, I have that ready whenever you want to bring it up.
Oh, yes. Let me just double check.
The thing on Blue Sky.
Yes. Hold on.
Also, apparently the Septuagint there in verse 22, where it says the records are ancient, it transliterates Abiderian. That doesn't mean shit in Greek. It's transliterated.
Abiderian?
I love how Lawrence's literature explains how this word doesn't mean shit in this language.
It doesn't. I can't find it in a single Greek dictionary. So then I looked it up and I was like,
What?
I see it's transliterated.
How does
what are you referring to?
become that?
So at the end of verse 22, it looks like from the Hebrew it is had. What is this?
Yeah, Hadebarim Athoikiein. Yeah, he transliterated it.
Yeah, they're both transliterated. I was like,
though
what do these words mean?
There is a reading of the Lucianic recension, but it's in Knoppers' reading, but it is Latinized. I'll send it here.
So it's a Greek transliteration of Hebrew, which was then Latinized.
No, it is Latinized in his commentary.
Okay, I was gonna say it's like abracadabra, just like.
Yeah, I want to talk about that too at some point, but not right now.
Lilith, so just to say, there's a comment in the chat right now that is why you put the thing on Blue Sky. So I can highlight.
Okay, I'm sorry. I literally had to run a bunch of errands, finish an appointment, and come here. So I'm trying to remember what it is I sent you on Blue Sky, even though I'm sure if you show me, I would instantly remember.
I'll put the comment from the chat in here so you can read that, and that'll trigger your memory, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure it will.
Yes, very likely will.
It's from a guy named Steve 1234.
Oh yeah, never have I seen so many people infatuated with things associated with something they say does not exist. It's amazing how offended people are when you call them out on their bullshit, no matter how much you can demonstrate that their bullshit is directly affecting your life and my life. And can you show me the thing I sent you on the screen, just so?
Yes.
And also, you're allowed to, as a geek, you're allowed to be obsessed with things that don't exist.
Absolutely.
There
Yeah.
we go.
But this particular thing, evangelical belief that Trump is God's president, means that economic collapse is good, actually, because it must be God's will, and we don't understand it, but we know that all things work together for good of those who love him. I cannot tell you the amount of bullshit I have heard in my life covered over by quoting that goddamn verse, and who have been called according to his purpose. So good luck fixing that. And I made the point, and I've made it many times before, that the type of thinking required to support the evangelical Christian worldview, which is not just Christian, but very childishly literal-minded, black and white, absolutist, and completely devoid of any link to rationality, or, it completely willing to take its own nonsense over demonstrable reality at any time.
Okay.
Peter?
And you?
Peter, that sounds like a you problem.
Yes, it did cut out. I have no clue why that happened.
Can you hear us
I'm
now,
curious about that. If
people?
the rest of the panel heard me, how come the chat didn't?
Yeah.
I heard you.
That means it's
Yeah,
a
'cause I think
connection
it's
issue,
the-
Arn.
Because
YouTube.
I'm the one streaming, and the desktop audio got taken out for some reason.
I saw this post on Facebook, and it was like the wrongest thing I'd ever seen, and it was the wrongest thing I'd ever seen. And I thought I can do a full-on hour-long
they can hear us
speech
now.
on how stupid this is.
I believe you.
And
Should we go back
unfortunately,
to
I
where
just
Lilith
put a
was
post
talking?
in there hoping that somebody would like it or something later. And then when I get that link, I can save it, because I was driving or I was in the car or whatever. I was on my phone. I didn't have the opportunity to save the thing. And now that I have, I can't find it anymore. It's frustrating. It was the most grotesque stupidity ever. If there is no God, then all of these ridiculous assumptions about how there is no justice. There's no absolute justice. Whereas if there is a God, there is absolutely no justice. I would love to address all that, but unfortunately I can't find that link anymore. Should have saved it when I saw it, expecting that maybe nobody would see it again and nobody's going to, remind me where that link is. Got some more comments to read. We have, let's say,
Arn,
I
do you need some
cannot
help?
read that.
Yeah, you probably need some help. Okay.
Yeah, Tomer posted
Yes.
this.
Yeah, that's the Lucenic Recension.
Oh, yeah, that was
Transliteration,
from what Tomer posted. Okay, yeah. I have to look up what. I'm guessing this is from the word Palaios, so I have to look that up. I'm not sure, but it says the words are Palaios and
Teber
Libya.
Kai.
Yeah.
What's Kai?
Kai means and. It can also
Oh.
mean even in some contexts.
Oh, okay.
I'm
It's
supposed
interesting
to
that
give
it
a
got the-
presentation in Denver next month about the very comment that Lilith just brought up about people infatuated with things that they supposedly or they say do not exist or they supposedly don't believe in. And I'm going to be talking about that. And that's one of the frustrations about the link that I said I couldn't find anymore, because I was going to integrate that into that speech, because it was a perfect encapsulation of where theistic philosophy gets absolutely every fucking thing wrong. So,
Are you aware that Christians hold it to be a moral virtue to hold your faith in defiance of evidence when it seems against you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Are you aware that Christians maintain it is a moral virtue to hold on to your faith when the evidence is against you?
Yeah, they think it's virtuous to be completely unreasonable, so that no matter how true the truth really is, no amount of proof will ever change their minds.
Well, because if it seems like they're wrong, that must be an attack of Satan, and they have to stand firm in the faith against it.
Somebody brought that argument up against me. They said, if I start to make sense, it is only because it's the devil speaking through me. So anything that makes sense is demonic, and only the perverse stuff is divine.
Only if you seem to be making sense by criticizing their belief. The idea is that it's actually okay. You know C.S. Lewis and
Where did we
Narnia?
get an idea that virtue was being pig-headed?
Well, again, it's not always being pig-headed. It's being pig-headed.
You have to stand by your beliefs. You have to be firm in your convictions. You have to be unyielding. You have to be unreasonable. If there's a sovereign or a judge that's looking at your case and they come from this perspective, then it does not matter what the evidence is. However they judged you initially is how they're going to judge you finally, regardless what evidence you bring to bear.
Well, you would think that God already had all the evidence. But with Christians, you're allowed to make concessions on anything except whatever you have been taught is doctrinally necessary unto salvation. Because that's where the thought stopping occurs. And this has been propounded in many theological proponents areas. But the simplest way to understand it is in the Silver Chair in the Narnian books. There's a time where our heroes are with their mentor Puddleglum, and they are trapped by a witch who throws something into the fire and makes them all sleepy and drugs them and tries to convince them that nothing they believe is real by playing her harp and hypnotically, ooh. And then Puddleglum stands up and stamps on the fire and messes up her magic and says, well, I don't care if it's real or not. I'm going to stand by it anyway, basically.
Right? How many times have people told me that if it's not true, that doesn't matter. I'm going to believe it anyway.
I think for a lot of people, it falls into the same sort of loyalty as a sports team, which, it's fine. If you want to cheer for pardon me, Arsenal over Man United and wear those colors and go nuts. But this is the real world where real things happen. Your support of Arsenal does not take food off my table or send my neighbor to a concentration camp in El Salvador.
I'm not familiar with Arsenal, but of course I know Manchester United.
Yeah. Lawrence, just before Tomer gets into his commentary, the verse 3 where you said these were the sons of Etam, like the Hebrew actually says these are the fathers of Etam.
Yeah, these are the father. These are the father of Etam.
Yeah, it does
odd.
say that. It does say in the Hebrew the father.
Yeah, father. Yeah, that's right.
Though the Septuagint has sons, it's interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so the Septuagint changes it.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because it's like both of them show corruption. So
yeah, so some of them try to explain this sort of thing with like that like this is the father of the place called Etam. Or like, and then it gives you a list of names and stuff, and it's, I mean, then again, these people, right? There's no connection between them and the rest of the tree. It's just like, it's just there. We're gonna read about we have a little family that we've not mentioned anywhere, but it's connected somehow to Hor, which has like, the Bible has like 4 different alternative families for him. You've got this one in Chronicles for one with a son called Shaval. You've got Bezalel, son of Uri, son of Hur, which is in like Numbers, I think. You've got Salma and Bethlehem in chapter 2, and I think there's also like Haraph and Beth Gader, which is somewhere else, I can't remember. So this chapter has a lot of things that should make you question, but I guess it's written in such a confusing way that you don't necessarily notice what's going on.
It definitely has the feel of being perhaps a reference to something that was important at the time that we don't have the backstory for.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you've got a bit of etiology. You've got stuff like these are the people that lived in these cities. These are the people that worked in these fields in this specific place. And then it gives a little bit of a family tree. And I guess you have to read it in context and say these are Judahites, but we don't necessarily know how they're related.
Well, and it could have been
but we
relevant to
know
some land claims that were important at the time it was written.
Yeah. Makes sense.
That's always definitely been a thing in these. But, without... That's the thing. Without local, at the time, knowledge, there are just some things that are never going to make complete sense.
I mean, I'm sure, maybe Tom will talk about some of the alternative theories of like how these little, I don't know what you'd call them, like like separate trees, how they're connected. Like, for example, you could say that Caleb, son of Jephunneh, is the same Caleb, the son of Hezron, and it's just like an alternative name. So let Thomas start on that.
Okay. Where did we stop actually? We started in 23?
23. Yeah.
Okay. So on verse 1 about Carmi, this contrasts with 2 verses 9 and 19, which state that Caleb or Kelubai was the son of Chetzon and the father of Hur. Although it has been suggested that Carmi indicates a variant tradition or an early confusion, according to Williamson, most scholars take Carmi to be a mistake and amend the text to Caleb following Wellhausen. On verse 3, these were the sons of Etam. Masoretic text reads, these are the father of Etam. In Hebrew, ve'ele avi Etam. Septuagint reads, these were Etam's sons, a reading favored by Knoppers. Other scholars suggest that both Masoretic text and Septuagint represent corruptions of a longer original version, such as, and these are the sons of Charef, the father of Bethgeder, the father of Etham, according to Knoth, Rudolph, Klein, Japhet, and Dirksen, with Charef being identified as Hur's third son, as we see in 251. Other readings include Vulgate, which reads, the posterity of Etam, Peshitta, the sons of Abinadab, Targum, the princes who lived in Etam, taking Etam to be a place name, also Sudokara and Kimchi.
Yeah, so there seems to be an idea of like when it says Avi something, rather than it being this is the name of their child, because in other places it says Holid, which means like he kind of gave birth to or fathered the person, and if it just says Avi, the father of, it could mean a place, which makes a bit of sense with some of the names that we're going to come across. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For a minute there, I thought you said there was Mpreg in the Bible.
Well, it's just, I mean, in English, we also say it, right? You'll say, we are pregnant. You'll say, kind of.
I know. I have to make a fan fiction.
Ara needs like a special like snake cam. we can put it on the screen as like the sixth person. And
Tomer, continue, please.
Yeah, sure. About Hatzlelponi, several scholars take Hatzlelponi to be a peculiar name and suggested that the reading is either a corruption of Yahalil El, the northerner, or in Hebrew Yahalil El Hatzfoni, according to Knoth, or of two sisters, Yahalil El and Tzefoni, according to Begrich, or of a marginal gloss of her name is placed before the name of her sister, in Hebrew Hatzav Lifnei Shem Achota, intended for Hela in verse 5, according to Rudolph. Knoppers, following Curtis and Madsen, takes Pony as a lithography of the following Penuel and reads, and the name of their sister was Hatzlel. Others, like Japhet, Klein, and Dirksen, preserve the name, claiming that there's no basis for improving the spelling of her name. Chazal in Talmud Bava Batra 91a identified her with Manoach's wife, mother of Samson. Septuagint reads Heselebon, and Peshitta omits her mention.
What a darling baby girl. Let's name her Heselebon.
Yeah, Hatzlel Pony. What a name.
It's a very interesting name because the Ha is like a accusative, right?
Yeah. I mean, it kind of feels
No,
like
not
the
accusative.
definitive,
Definitive, yeah, definitive.
right? Which would make it.
You would expect
Pony.
Vitzlal Pony because
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. On verse 4, Hu, father of Bethlehem. According to 254, Selman was the father of Bethlehem. Some scholars, like Rudolph and Rothstein, suggested taking Avi, father of, as a haplography for he, she, and thus amend the firstborn of Ephraim, she is Bethlehem. In Hebrew, he Bethlehem. Japhet, however, notes that Ephrath in the genealogies is presented as a woman, not as a place name, and this contradiction is only apparent. We should understand this nickname in its ethnic meaning, and there is no issue with the general definition of Hur, or more specifically Salma, as the father of Bethlehem. We could attribute this double mention of Bethlehem to the importance of the house of David, and the note the father of Bethlehem to the chronicler, who inserted the material belonging to the house of David's genealogy to the lists of the sons of Hur.
Right, because we already mentioned that Bethlehem is Salma is the father of Bethlehem, and now we're saying that Hur, his father, is the father of Bethlehem. So it's, I mean, it's also a place name, right? So is it just saying that the place name is like, they're part of their family inheritance, or is it actually saying that he had a child called Bethlehem, and the claim is that the city is named after him? And same with Ephrata, right? So Ephrata or Ephrat could be the name of Hur's wife, or it could be the name of the city, because the city is also called sometimes Bethlehem Ephrata, to distinguish it from Bethlehem Hagalil or something like that. Yeah.
Could be. On verse 9, Yabetz. He is not mentioned outside of Chronicles, and the narrative given has no context. Japhet notes that it has been suggested that the current text was damaged by haplography or corruption, with one proposal suggesting that the unusual name Hatzoveva in verse 8 is the name to which Yabez is associated with, according to BHK and Curtis and Madsen. She writes, however, that in this case, a broader textual omission is more likely. For example, Levenstam proposed to complete Yabez's prayer with, "And I've worked the God of Israel for all the days," and present it as a vow.
Oh, so you're saying it's possible that it gives like Koz was the father of these four people, or well, two names and then a family, whatever. And then Yabetz is like a nickname that his mother gave to, let's say, Tovava.
Could be.
Oh God.
And that's what's missing, is that or the name was changed. It should be Tovava was more esteemed than his brothers, and his mother named him Yabetz instead of Yabetz was esteemed more than his brothers. That kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, if we're gonna get into the prayer of Jabez, I have a few thoughts on that.
I haven't gotten into it in full detail, although it is interesting. It's like I felt like there was too much to talk about there, so I tried to avoid it.
What about what Pseudo Rashi says about it? It's supposed to teach you a lesson, this stupid little story that's in the middle of this genealogy. And it's like to do with, I think he says, from here proof is brought that when people subscribe to a charity in public for a certain cause, they should not vow, but give without a vow. Its midrashic interpretation is well known. So
Well,
I'm guessing that this story has got a midrash associated with it.
Oh,
I
but
was
I want to.
actually curious about the midrash for it because it became a fad a little while ago for Christians to pray the prayer of Jabez.
Oh.
It's part of
I
their.
think I
They
remember.
wrote little books about it and had like little cross
Yeah.
and like
I
put
remember
steps
something
in the
about it.
stand, kitschy shit.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of shit you could buy.
Yeah.
It's all about. You have to understand. There's this idea in certain Christian circles that you can claim the promise and pray this prayer and somehow glom onto it. And Aaron really better get back here because he's going to want to hear this bit. One of the women I know who is a really wonderful person, to my knowledge, she's still alive. She prayed the prayer of Jabez that you would bless me indeed and enlarge my territory. And she got cancer. And then the church rallied around her and helped take care of her as they should. And then she had her story written on a placard somewhere, and somebody saw it, and she was told by her friend basically that they were reconsidering their connection to God because they read this story. So talk about enlarging your territory. And I'm like, are you seriously implying that God gave you fucking cancer so people who should be taking care of you could do the thing they're supposed to do, and this could inspire someone to possibly put up with more of God's bullshit?
She should have been more specific about what territory means.
Yeah.
So it might not include a tumor.
Yeah, well, the blessing is according to the will of God, just like Trump's destruction of the economy, so he could shortchange the stock market.
God answers every prayer, but sometimes the answer is shut up, bitch.
There's a tradition, like religious Jewish people do, that they will give charity to a specific place, or ask a specific person, give money to someone to pray on their behalf at a specific grave of a specific holy person. And if
I can't make it to the grave of the saint, will you get here?
Yeah. But the thing is, they give the money, and then if the prayer comes true, they have, like, they kind of, part of their prayer is, I will publicize it if this comes true. And so if you have like these like advertisers that come out once a week, whatever, they'll always be like in like the miscellaneous. They'll be like, I said this prayer 40 times and I saw relief, and I promised to publish it or whatever. So it sounds like this, like, I prayed the prayer of Jabez and my BMI went up 20 points.
Yeah.
You know, like...
Yeah, no, it's exactly that kind of stuff. I mean, this was a personal anecdote about someone I actually knew from someone else who knew both of us. So, there was some grounding in reality for it. And I was there during her cancer. It was all very real, I assure you. But at the same time, like, it absolutely has it's both the confirmation bias and the ability to spin any fucking thing into the narrative you want. I mean, watching my father thank God for the things he does that we don't know about is just... Ugh.
Yeah, I should know that there in EBR Online on Japhet, Jeremiah W.S. Gibbs notes that Bruce Wilkinson wrote a short devotional book titled The Prayer of Jabez, where he directed the readers to pray Jabez's prayer daily, and God would respond by pouring blessings upon their lives. And he, of course,
like
notes
breast
that
cancer.
It's so random. Like, it's actually quite poetic, and I've never heard like any songs or anything based on this verse.
Yeah, I mean, and he of course notes that the book was highly criticized by theologians and biblical scholars.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, as a point for just utter irrationality and willingness to invent anything to support your narrative, no matter what it costs you, I think it's an important study in human psychology, and particularly relevant at this time. Disturbingly so.
Also, it should be noted that in the Midrash, at least in Talmud Temurah 16 and PSGD and Targum, Jabez is Othniel. So
I don't know. I think the prayer of Othniel wouldn't be quite as poetic. They probably wouldn't have had as much cross-stick ditch kitsch.
And and when you say Othniel, you're talking about the one that's mentioned in this chapter as the son of Kiraz, who is maybe the grandson of Caleb, son of Yefuneh, or is it a different Othniel who's more important? Like to be like, oh, he is this guy, but like, who is he?
I think that's Othniel. Wait, let me just check real quick. I don't know if I want to check real quick. I think.
Yeah.
Oh fuck now.
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, also the way that's kind of randomly put together. I wonder if it's like maybe like geographically. So like here, we're talking about the Judahites, which within the territory of Judah, and then we got like we go on the side of Caleb, and we do a bunch of stuff. But then it kind of just goes to random other side. I mean, it goes to Ashur, which is another son of Hezron, and then we suddenly go into Koz and Rekha and the Calebs, the Kenazes, Ezra, Mered, Yahalalel. These, maybe they were associated geographically rather than being part of a family. Like Jabez might be related to, as Thomas said, might be related to the family that's mentioned before, Koz, but we don't know who Koz is, but maybe Koz is somehow connected to. It's very. I think there's even an idea that Koz might be another son of Ashur and Hela. So it's like maybe it's just missing a word. Like you would say the sons of blah blah blah, and then the next verse just goes Koz was the father of. So maybe Koz was the last son of the verse before. So it could be that there's a connection there. But all it is saying these are people who are in the tribe of Judah. I think. That.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems that Chronicles is very late, so
yeah, you
can only guess as to when these people were around, but especially because it's we're talking about like the children and grandchildren of Hezron and Caleb who lived around the time of Moses. No, wait, what am I thinking? Yeah.
I have to wonder how many of these little interjections like this basically come from the equivalent of Snopes. A story went around a lot and they're like, we got to fold this in somewhere. This works.
I mean, the name sounds like a popular etymology.
Yeah.
Which one?
The Yabets.
Yabets.
Right.
Okay, I'll continue.
So hold on, just because everyone knows I hate Lawrence, we have an esteemed scholar in chat, Lawrence. You might want to check it out and learn something.
Yeah, I don't know why he's copy pasting stuff, but.
Oh no! Why are you doing this to me, Peter?
Peter, are you?
All right.
Do I have to tell your girlfriends on you?
Off topic, Tomer.
Yes.
Oh, that's funny. Okay.
Okay. So on 13, Chathath. Sorry, is it Chathath? Yeah, it's Chathath and Meonothai. That's in the NIV. Yeah, Chathath and Meonothai. It's 13 and 14.
Well, it's a Chathath Patach, so it's actually a very short ha sound. So,
no,
stress would be on the next.
Sorry. It's on verse 13. And the NIV has Chathath and Meonothai. But the Masoretic text only has Chathath. Meonothai appears in Vulgate and Lucenic recension, and most commentators add Meonothai, taking the Masoretic text reading to be a case of haplography.
Right, because he's in the next verse.
Yes, because he's the next verse.
Right. So it's a similar idea. It could be that, they just kind of skipped the name at the end of the sentence. They gave a few sons, and then the last one, instead of repeating it in the next verse to say that he gave birth to the next generation, it's just skipped.
Yeah. On verse 15, the son of Ela, Kenaz. The Masoretic text reads, and the sons of Ela and Kenaz. In Hebrew, Vebnei Ela veKenaz. This meaning is difficult given the three nouns which preceded it. Pseudo Rashi and Kimchi suggested that the Kenaz is a proper name. Early translations read the son of Ela Kenaz without the Vav conjunction, a rabbinic favorite by Gersonides. Knoppers, following Kittel, suggested that a proper name before Kenaz dropped out. Most commentators, following Rothstein, Curtis and Matson and Williamson, amend the text to read, these are the sons of Kenaz, in Hebrew, Ele bnei Kenaz.
Rather than using the name Ella, it's the word these, Ella. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. On verse 17, one of Mered's wives gave birth to Miriam. In Hebrew, Vatahar et Miriam. This reading is difficult since the word Vatahar, and she became pregnant, has no subject, and she only conceives, not giving birth. Dirksen notes that an emendation accepted by some scholars, like Japhet, is to place verse 18b before Vatahar, reading, and these are the sons of Bithia, the daughter of Pharaoh, whom Mered took as wife, she conceived of, etc. Others, like Rudolph, Brown, and Knoppers and Klein, follow Septuagint, which translates Vayelon Vatahar as and Iyalon and Yether became the father of Miriam, which presupposes Vayelon Vayoled Yether, or something like that. And he writes, quote, the form of the Septuagint reading argues for its authenticity. The usual construction in a genealogical context is and X begot Y. A consecutive imperfect is used in 134, thus taking up verse 28, and after a narrative interruption in 537, which is 611 in the Old Testament, and 8:9. In all cases, Septuagint follows the order of the Masoretic text. In the present verse, the first and usual construction would be natural. The fact that Septuagint has the unusual form suggests that it is translating a Hebrew text here. Yes.
Are you sure? The Septuagint was translating from Greek?
Yeah, I know.
From Hebrew, I mean?
Yeah, who would have
Really?
thought? Yeah.
Wow, never heard that one before. That's
Wow.
news to me.
Shocking.
I thought Hercules spunked it up himself, but whatever.
Yeah.
Sorry, Heracles.
I was just gonna say, he didn't seem like much of a literary type. Bit of a meathead.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so on 18, Pharaoh's daughter Bithia. Bithia is a Semitic name, with the second theophoric part being Yahwistic, daughter of Yahweh. Klein notes that doubts rose regarding the likelihood of a marriage between an insignificant Judean like Mered and a daughter of Pharaoh. He notes that R. Steiner supported the plausibility of this marriage, noting a resemblance between Bithia to Bint-i Anat, or Binti Anat, the daughter of Anat, the Semitic name of the daughter of a later wife of Ramses II. He hypothesized that the name was later changed during the woman's lifetime or later, and that she may have been a granddaughter or great-granddaughter of Ramses III, at which time, quote, Egypt had lost considerable power and prestige and could no longer afford to be choosy when marrying off a daughter, end quote. Klein, however, notes the several issues with this proposal, namely that it is unlikely that Judah's genealogy came from the 12th or 11th century, and Mered being elevated to a Judite prince or elder without any evidence.
I mean, it seems that the traditional reading of these couple of verses, which are weird, is that that when it says she, it's not it's actually referring to Caleb, which is a bit random.
Are we saying Caleb was a woman?
No. She, Caleb's wife, bore Miriam, Shammai, and Yishba, father of Eshtemoa. And and then his Judean wife, which could be the wife of Caleb, or perhaps Mered, bore Yered. It's stupid.
Also, Targum also adds, she became a proselyte, and Mered, who was Caleb, married her, for he had opposed the advice of the spies.
But yeah, I mean, Mered isn't connected to anyone else. I mean, no, he is. Isn't Mered in the tree somewhere? The son of Ezra. So it's like it's confusing.
Yeah.
It could be the same Mered, or maybe it's a different Mered. Who knows? Yeah,
Yeah, the whole thing is very confusing.
Yeah. There's definitely a skip. Because we have
Yeah.
the sons of Caleb, son of Yefuneh, blah blah
Yeah.
blah, and then we have Yehalelel, and then we have Ezra. So, which includes the son of Mered. So,
Yeah, I mean, in general, 17 through 20 Klein notes there are several textual problems with this, and he notes several like genealogies proposed by Japhet and Garmite or Willie, or sorry, not Willie and Rudolph and no, sorry, Garmite is somebody else. Is it? Sorry, but yeah, it's odd. The text here is probably very corrupt.
Yeah. It's ancient.
Yeah. And
the ancient perfect word of God is not perfect?
No,
Yeah.
well, the perfect word of God gave a disclaimer that the perfect word of God was copying from ancient texts. So
yes, that is exactly what you would expect of a perfect word of God.
Yeah. And finally on 20, Zocheth and Ben Zocheth. Ben Zocheth can also be read as the son of Zocheth. Compare Septuagint, which reads sons of Zocheth. Though some have taken Ben Zocheth as a personal name, as we see in Vulgate, Targum, which reads Bar Zocheth, Pseudo-Kara, and PSGD, most modern commentators read son of Zocheth, suggesting that his name was omitted. Peshitta has a different reading of the verse. The sons of Ashimon, Ammon, Dumia, Zerach, and Shelah, these were the sons of Hodiah, the brother of Nacham, the father of Keilah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it for this part.
Oh, okay.
Lawrence, do you want to finish this up?
Yeah. So verse 24. The sons of Simeon, Nemuel, Yamin, Yarib, Zerah, Shaul. Shalom was his son. Mibsam, his son. Mishma, his son. The sons of Mishma. Hamuel, his son. Zakur, his son. Shimei, his son. Shimei had 16 sons and 6 daughters. That guy fucked. But his brothers did not have many children, nor did all their family multiply like the Judeans. They lived in Beersheba, Molada, Hazar Shaul, Bila, Ezem, Tolad, Bethuel, Horma, Ziklag, Beth Markaboth, Hazar Susim, Beth Biri, and Sha'arim. These were their towns until David became king, and their villages were Etam, Ain, Ramon, Tohen, and Ashan, 5 towns, along with their villages that were around these towns as far as Baal. Ooh, interesting. These were their settlements, and they kept a genealogical record.
Of course they did.
Meshabab, Yamalek, Yosha, son of Amaziah, Yoel, Yehu, son of Yoshibiah, son of Sariah, son of Asiel, Elionai, Jacoba, Yeshoiah, Asaiah, Adiel, Yesmiel, Benaiah, Ziza, son of Shiphi, son of Alon, son of Yediah, son of Shimri, son of Shemaiah. These mentioned by name were leaders in their families, and their clans increased greatly. They journeyed to the entrance of Gedor, to the east side of the valley, to seek pasture for their flocks, where they found rich, good pasture, and the land was very broad, quiet, and peaceful, for the former inhabitants there belonged to Ham. These, registered by name, came in the days of King Hezekiah of Judah and attacked their tents and the Meonim who were found there and exterminated them. were found there and exterminated them to this day and settled in their place because there was pasture there for their flocks. That's rude. And some of them, 500 men of the Simeonites, went to Mount Seir, having as their leaders Pelatiah, Nehariah, Raphiah, and Uzziel, sons of Ishi. They destroyed the remnants of the Amalekites who had escaped, and they have lived there to this day. Wow. So there's just a random fucking genocide thrown in there. Another random extermination of people. We wanted the space for the flocks. Very good.
Well, what use are women and children when my economic livelihood could take up more space?
Yeah.
Just
And
don't
that
keep
is
any
the-
grassy fields as property, or someone will kill you for it.
Yeah. Gotta love
And
it.
that was the entirety of the tribe of Simeon. So we get like a little bit of a family tree of Simeon. We have a few sons, but only one of them has children, and then it goes down, and then we get 3 brothers, and one of them has 16 sons and 6 daughters, which I guess, interestingly, his nuff is Shimei, which is quite similar to Shimon, the name of the tribe itself.
Fitting, since he seems to have taken on the personal responsibility to propagate the tribe entirely on his own.
Yeah, that seems to be what's implying anyway. But then we get like these lists of names with something. It's just like a person and maybe their father's name, or maybe a couple of generations. Just like we got like Ziza, son of Shiphi, son of Alon, son of Yediah, son of Shimri, son of Shemaiah. Like none of those ancestors are connected to anyone else. It's just like at some point in history, when this was being written down, these were the names of the leaders. These were the names of the clans or something. And this is written. Chronicles is most probably written post-exilic, but I'm guessing this might be copied from something older.
I mean, that's kind of the idea that they want to get across, right? Like with verse 22, and also there was verse 33 as well, right? And they kept a genealogical record.
Yeah.
So we already know that they were going from other sources, and now they're just calling them ancient. They're not always ancient when they say that they're ancient, but sometimes they might be. So
yeah,
I mean, we don't have any of them, so we can hardly judge. We just know that they claim to have had a source, which I suppose is better than a lot of the stuff we've had up to this point.
that is true.
Yeah, I mean, if you were doing like a survey, you might be like, like the tribe of Simeon, who is left? Okay, there's a couple of tribal leaders. We'll go talk to them, and then they'll be like, okay, this is my family, my genealogy is written down in this book, and we don't know how we're connected to the legendary Simeon or whatever. Like,
I mean,
we have record that there was one guy who was very prolific and was probably the leader at one point, but we don't know people in between. But Simeon, I guess, is fine.
It is very Simeon to end the story with a genocide. That is very much his vibe.
And to be very small.
Yeah. Stabby.
Maybe they were compensating.
We pick up a couple of comments on here.
It's gender affirming genocide.
You need some help reading things.
This was written in a weird font.
Oh God.
Yeah, and I'm like,
yes.
Yeah,
So
go
you
ahead.
need help
Lawrence,
reading
read it for
things.
me.
Sure. Did we read the one from Bruno?
Nope.
Oh, it's Luke Snyder.
You
Didn't read the one from Bruno?
have to
Okay,
start
I'll read
there.
that one. Okay. So Bruno Zygarts, $5. God answers all prayers. The answer is usually sucks to be you.
Yeah, five. What type of dollar?
Canadian.
Oh, I thought you were gonna make. What do people say? People say 5
Fake
like,
dollars. I don't know.
Yeah.
Canadian $5 true dollars.
In
Remember,
a few
we have
in a few months, it'll be
scientists
the
on our
5
$100
expensive
bill, not in
dollars.
God we trust.
Yeah, the $5
Yeah.
expensive dollars. Yeah.
Yes.
From Luke Snyder, $5, real dollars. I imagined a marshmallow once. God exists the same way. Let's hashtag pray about it.
But I could eat a marshmallow and it would be tasty.
Oh, and then he also asks, is there any genetic evidence for this?
I have a feeling that's part of a conversation that is going on the sideline.
Like always.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about it. I hear things from both sides, so I don't know.
Don't get arguing about evolution with creationists. They don't know what it is anyway.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not even talking about evolution here.
I know.
And then Bobtailed Trucker gifted 20 R and Raw memberships. Guys, chat. Let's get a bunch of W's for Bobtailed Trucker there.
Okay, I'm just imagining us on the little screen in the truck cabin. He's going down the highway, listening to us.
Little highway to hell in the background. Thank you.
Take the blasphemers road.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll start on verse 26. The descendants of Mishma. This phrase is absent from the Septuagint, suggesting that Hamuel, Zachor, and Shimei are all from different generations, compared to Masoretic text reading, which suggests that they are brothers. While some, like Knoppers, take the Septuagint reading to be a case of haplography, Klein prefers the reading because of the X his son, Y his son formula. He suggested that a scribe may have added the sons of Mishma to this verse in the Masoretic text, in an attempt to create brothers for Shimei, which he may have thought to be required by the comparison between Shimei's and his brother's descendants in verse 27. On 31, these were their towns until the reign of David. Knoppers comment, there is no urgent reason, Pace, Noth, and Rudolph, to view this comment as a gloss, although it does not appear in Joshua 19:6. In Chronicles, the monarchy in general, as seen 143, and David's reign in particular, mark a major turning point in Israelite history. The precise significance of the statement is, however, another matter. Some, like Kalai, interpret the phrase as an allusion to David's census, as seen in 1 Chronicles 21 and /2 Samuel 24. Others, like Benzinger, Williamson, and Brown, argue that it refers to David's sovereignty over these towns, as seen in 1 Samuel 30:27. While the latter suggestion is more plausible than the former, it is also clear from what follows that the author views Simeon as retaining a measure of tribal integrity and independence in the post-Davidic era, as we've seen in 4:47 and 2 Chronicles 34:6.
Fair enough. I suppose there were still regions associated with specific tribes and their, things associated with them, attributes, people who lived closer to the sea, people who were, plains, and what they were making in that region.
Yeah, Pseudo Rashi has like a story about how this means that the Simeonites were in their cities and Judah kind of like surrounded them. And then the time of Saul, they would like drive the Simeonites out. And he didn't want to, but then when David became king, he allowed them to do that. Yeah.
David was always such a stand-up guy.
On 38th, on 38 through 41, Japhet comments, the incident described in verses 38b through 41 bears all the marks of historical probability in the socio-economic conditions, the course of events, and the various details. In the opening phrase, and their fathers' houses increased greatly, in verse 38, the most basic motive for peacetime, quote-unquote, immigration is provided. Under the prevalent sociological and economic circumstances of Palestine, this would imply that some members of the family would have to leave their traditional locations and search for new living areas and pasture lands. The situation is well illustrated in a different form in Genesis 36. quote, the land could not support both of them, end quote. Also in accord with authentic conditions is the view of the Simeonites as herdsmen who seek pasture for their flocks in verse 39, who found rich, good pasture in verse 40, and who settled in their place because there was pasture there for their flocks in verse 41. The incident is a graphic example of armed expansion as an outlet for accumulating economic pressure. And finally, 42 and 43, Dirksen comments, this tersely described campaign is entirely elusive from a historical viewpoint. The names of the 4 leaders in verse 42 are late, as is shown by the fact that all 4 occur only in Nehemiah and Chronicles. The first 3 names all occur in 321 forward, among the descendants of David. This correspondence can hardly be coincidental, and we can in fact conjecture that the writer added these names here from his own work. In that case, the purpose of these names, like those in the preceding passage, was to make the involvement of the Simeonites in the 2 campaigns as concrete as possible. In relation to the second campaign too, the question whether the author used an existing tradition is pointless and incapable of resolution. Yeah, that's it.
Lawrence, how much we got left of this?
Of the genealogy.
Okay.
So I finished the chapter.
Okay.
So we got. Well, I guess I don't know if Aaron can.
Too damn
physically
much.
read.
We've done 2 tribes.
All right, I'm going to try to read.
Are you? Okay, good luck.
The sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel. He was the firstborn, but because he defiled his father's bed, his birthright was given to the sons of Joseph, son of Israel, so that he is not enrolled in the genealogy according to the birthright. Jon Snow, Aegon Targaryen shit.
Well, I don't think Jon Snow ever fucked his dad's wife, but
Though Judah became prominent among his brothers and a ruler came from him, yet the birthright belonged to Joseph. The sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, Hanok, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. The sons of Joel, Shemaiah, his son, Gog, his son, Shimei, that's going to be the name of my next kid, Gog. Shimei, his son, Mika, his son, Reah, his son, Baal, his son, Bera, his son, whom King Tiglath-Pileser of Assyria carried away into exile. He was a chieftain of the Reubenites, and his kindred by their families. When the genealogy of their generations was reckoned, the chief Jael and Zechariah and Bela, son of Azaz, son of Shema, son of Joel, who lived in Arur, as far as Nebo and Baal-Meon. He also lived in the east, as far as the beginning of the desert, his side of the Euphrates, because their cattle had multiplied in the land of Gilead. And in the days of Saul, they made war on the Hagrites, who fell by their hand, and they lived in their tents throughout all the region east of Gilead. The sons of Gad lived beside them in the land of Bashan as far as Selecah. Joel the chief, Shapham the second, Jenai and Shaphat in Bashan, and their kindred according to their clans, Michael, Meshulam, Sheba, Jorai, Zakan, Zia, and Eber. 7. These were the sons of Abihail, son of Huri, son of Jeroah, son of Gilead, son of Michael, son of Mishishai, son of Yado, son of Buz, or Buzz, Lightyear. Ahi, son of Abdiel, son of Guni, was chief in their clan, and they lived in Gilead, in Bashan, and in its towns, and all the pasture lands of Sharon in their limits. Sharon! All of these were enrolled by genealogies in the days of King Jotham of Judah, and in the days of King Jeroboam of Israel. the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh had valiant warriors who carried shield and sword and drew the bow, expert in war. 44,760 ready for service. They made war on the Hagrites, Jatur, Naphish, and Nodab. And when they received help against them, the Hagrites and all who were with them were given into their hands. For they cried to God in the battle, and he granted their entreaty because they trusted in him. They captured their livestock, 50,000 of their camels, 250,000 sheep, 200,000 donkeys, and 100,000 captives, because people are livestock. Many fell slain because the war was of God. War was of God. And they lived in their territory until the exile, which was not of God. God can play both sides of the chessboard. The members of the half-tribe of Manasseh lived in the land. They were very numerous, from Bashan to Baal Harmon, Sinir, and Mount Hermon. These were the heads of their clans: Epher, Ishi, Eliel, Azrael, Jeremiah, Hodaviah, and Jadiel, mighty warriors, famous men, heads of their clans. But they transgressed against the God of their ancestors and prostituted themselves to the gods of the peoples whom the gods of the peoples of the land whom God destroyed before them. So the God of Israel stirred up the spirit of King Pul of Assyria, the spirit of King Tiglath-Pileser of Assyria, and he carried them away, namely the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, and brought them to Halach, Habor, Hara, and the river Gozan to this day. So what we learn from this is that whenever you do good, it's because God is smiling on you, and whenever shit fucks up, it's because you have defiled God.
But to be fair about the people that prostituted themselves to the gods of the other land, those gods do sound hotter. So can't exactly
those
blame
gods
them.
are way hotter. Yeah. They're way hotter, and they're way more chill. And remember, doing good doesn't mean actually helping people. It might mean genociding your neighbors because your stuff is more important. So, good is really a very wishy-washy term when it comes to God.
Yeah, I like the possible editorial gloss where they identify Pul with the Pul king of Ashur as Tiglath-Pileser.
Right, yeah. I was curious about that because at first I was like, oh, he's stirring up two kings, but then I was like, no, they both say it's the king of Assyria. So
because Pul is mentioned in what is it, Kings? And he's identified with Tiglath-Pileser in the commentaries, probably based on this.
Yeah, I mean,
Pul it makes sense also... because he's not mentioned, is he?
He is it's like the Greek reading of Tiglath-Pileser, or Tiglath-Pileser, at least according to Ptolemy, I guess. I've noted that previously that it appears in Second Kings. There is in 2 Kings 15:19. There is Pul as well as and I think it's
Hebrew. You think the Hebrew scripture got it from the Greeks?
I don't remember if that is a Greek. It is known in some cuneiform sources and in the Ptolemaic canon. So it is a hypercrostican of Tiglath-Pileser III.
Oh, okay.
So but it is not his throne name.
The spirit. Okay, so I guess in the Greek, to be the spirit of Faluk, King Faluk of Assyria, and the spirit of Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria.
I see how they're more similar to each other.
Yeah, in Assyrian it's Pu-Ulu.
Kings have too many damn names.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
I do love that Chucky just chose to keep his name Charles since he'd been with it so long.
Well, I mean, most royal like princes are given like a few names, and they're called by one of them, or even a nickname, and then
they
their
might
regnal
choose
name
another
yeah.
Well, I mean, George VI wasn't his original name, but
like I think Prince William theoretically, when he becomes king, he could call himself King David.
So
that's hilarious.
Before we hop into some more detailed commentary, I think we should probably catch up on some of these comments.
Yes.
So we got I don't think I read this one. So we got a second set of 20 gifted memberships from Bobtailed Trucker. Look at two W's in the chat, a quadruple U in the chat for Bobtailed Trucker. And then he also says, people watching deserve some appreciation from time to time. Yeah, that is true.
Agreed.
Let's see, Matt White. Lawrence, did you see Alex O'Connor debunking the long ending / short ending Mark's gospel guy? It was epic. I'm not sure about the guy that you're talking about, but
the long ending, short ending Mark Gospel guy. Now that's in the YouTube screen name.
I'm not sure what that's a reference to, but the long ending, short ending. The thing is,
I know the Mark's ending. I didn't see that particular debate.
Yeah, I didn't see that either. So I usually try not to watch videos on biblical studies, at least for the most part, unless I know that they're coming from someone like Dr. Bowen or Kip Davis or something like that. Unless I know they're coming from scholars, I try not
people
to.
Who know what they're talking about.
Are you worried that misinformation may miss?
You cut out there, Arn.
Yeah.
And he's gone. Okay. Yeah, it looks like we lost him. Maybe he'll reconnect in a.
I think the misinformation will make him crazy.
If there's like something that's debatable, that's one thing. But if there's
but even when we go over some of the stuff, I'm like, oh, am I simplifying it so much that Lawrence will be mad at me?
The oversimplifications are kind of rough for me.
I know, but we're not in university classes here. So
I know.
I don't know how much
which is
people
why
are coming with, and
which is why I try to just stay out of those circles on YouTube.
Fair enough.
Rimmer's Briggery. You know what? We'll wait until Arn hops back in for that one. Again, Matt White. I would love to see a convo with Arn and Alex O'Connor, who just debunked Wes Huff. Okay. Talking about Wes Huff. Okay, gotcha. Okay, no, I did not see that. I watched Kip's thing about Wes Huff. That's about it. And Bobtail Trucker again with $20 this time, 20 real dollars.
Man, why? Like,
Bobtail Trucker is the man.
Oh, seriously.
Either you have lots of money in your bank, or you're bored.
Listen, Bobtail Trucker. There's another channel, Milwaukee Atheist, you should check out. To be fair, even transgender people are generous regardless of the avatar name.
True.
I'm not sure what.
That might be a reference to a conversation we were not entirely privy to.
I'm not sure what that's a reference.
I said was about gender affirming genocide.
That's
when
right.
we were talking about how Simeon was
okay.
overcompensating by killing people so he could feed more of his sheep.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's not a proper genocide until you cut their dicks off. Or at least part of it. Sorry.
Gender affirming genocide. Yeah, that makes more sense now. Okay. And then we'll wait until Arn comes back because one from Rimmer's Briggery is for him. So,
just to be clear, though, I was not implying that Simeon was trans. Trans people are generally, most of the ones I know are very, very lovely. I was implying that he was an insecure little bitch.
Yeah. And I was talking about the Israelites doing circumcision on.
Yeah. No, fair enough. I mean, they do. He did do
or at
that
least collecting foreskins to prove.
Well, he did make that whole city snippy snip to marry his sister, and then went and killed them all.
Yeah. Lawrence, why did you skip one for R? Oh, because it's at.
Yeah, because it was
Oh,
at
okay.
R, and yeah, it was directed down.
So I think I should start.
Aaron,
Yeah,
come
sure.
back.
It's
You can blame it all on me.
Yeah.
Oh, context. Read it.
Yeah. Yes. So
Another $20. Another $20.
Okay. Yeah, I see that.
Oh, I guess Peter hasn't posted that one yet. I don't have the stream up.
Oh.
Oh, there we go. Okay, Bobtail Trucker, another 20 for context. I myself am trans. Gotcha. Okay.
Much love. Yeah, I was
Right.
totally.
Regardless of the avatar name, because they're a trucker, but I think truckers get paid a lot, no?
It sort of depends. Some of the elements of being a trucker can be quite expensive, the material and the equipment and the upkeep for your truck. But they generally get pretty decent pay. Also, I think we might have assumed Bob being a name because Bobtail,
Right.
Despite the fact that obviously Bobtail cats are adorable and tech reference name too. So yeah, I think that's how people's minds went that way. But yeah, no, Bobtail, we love you. We have much love. You're valid and you're
stop
awesome.
spending money,
and have a good
please.
Did she spend more?
Yes.
And Tomer is being ridiculous. Ignore Tomer.
Tomer, don't
Spend
tell
that
him
money on
to
food.
don't tell him to stop. This is Aaron's income,
I would spend that money on
Can't
food. What are you
do
talking
that.
about?
and it looks like Aaron needs better internet, so he can use it.
Yeah.
But you can keep
okay.
reading,
I was muted this whole time.
Lawrence.
Yes, we have more. Rimmer's Brewery, almost perfect pronunciation on my name there. You can just say brewery though. That's what the second part means. I think I'm gonna forget that, so I'm gonna continue with Rimmer's Brewery. And Bobtail Trucker with another 10 drop. Drop a like if you're enjoying the stream. Yeah, listen to Bobtail Trucker. That is the proper thing to do. If you're not, then you got issues.
Trucker now owns us, so.
Yeah. Apparently, she drives a truck without a trailer, which is what bobtailed means.
Ah, gotcha.
Or at least maybe she enjoys the bit when without the trailer, you're racing down the highway.
So I'm guessing she doesn't have like truck nuts, but.
No,
That is funny.
She's got a bunny tail.
That is funny.
Hey, put a little bobtail fuzzy. See, I heard bobtail and I thought of the cute murder mittens cats with their sharp little knife hands.
I used to. Are you thinking of I mean, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
I know which one you're talking about. Yeah. But the
Thanks.
I used to have a my old cat was a pixie bob. He was like a mix. I think either he was part bobcat or he like very like little bobcat, or he was like just meant to replicate one. But either way, he was a great cat. But I either way, I want a bobcat just to have. And yeah, that's what we got. No wait, we got another one. From Cinny, $5. I'm spending this money to ask that you all try a. Hold up.
A warm Daijingo sake.
Daijingo sake. Okay.
With some gyoza.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I'll look for it, and as long as it's not American made, I will probably get some.
Yeah. If I find some around, yeah, definitely.
I mean, sake can be very expensive.
All I usually drink is rum, so. But if I'll keep that one in mind.
Yeah, I've had warm sake before.
Wait, sake is good.
Pretty
I've
good.
had it, but,
yeah, it's
I
not
think
like
if super
it's warm sake is a bit different, but yeah, it's
it might be best to get it at a restaurant then, because like having it to the right temperature.
Yeah.
Because even like chilled whites should not all be at the same temperature, and it doesn't mean ice cold. Like a Chardonnay should be cool, but not.
Yeah, they'll serve it to you in like a little what they called, like a tiny decanter.
Yeah, the little ceramic. Yeah.
What are they called?
Whatever.
Have no idea. And like maybe inside like a little hot bowl of hot water.
Listen, everyone, shut up. All your stuff is unimportant because Bobtail Trucker has given $50 real. Huge.
Yeah,
big W's to Bobtail.
Oh my god.
At Aaron,
I'm
we
done.
are all summoning you to be swift on your quest of a valiant return. Let's hope that worked just as good as prayer. So
Seconded.
we'll see how that goes.
I'd
Okay.
actually like it to work better than
All right, I think
prayer.
we should just. Tom,
We
I
should get into the
just go
commentary,
because
yeah, I agree.
Aaron is like, he's gonna come back and he's gonna be like, "What? You haven't done anything?"
And Tomer,
Yeah. Okay, so on verse
be nice
1,
to Bobtail. Get going.
I'm just saying, like, if I were in your position, I would keep that money because I'm poor. So, on verse 1, he was the firstborn. Reuben, although being the firstborn, did not receive the rights of the firstborn. According to Genesis 35:22, Reuben slept with Bilhah, his father's concubine, an act condemned in Jacob's blessing in Genesis 49:4, which results in the
What?
transfer of the birthright.
It worked.
Oh yeah,
It did.
okay.
Bobtail worked. Bobtail,
He
the
is
trans
back.
trucker, gave
Arn,
donation.
you missed
to which
you
he
missed a
was-
whole
he
lot
returned.
important stuff.
Did I?
Evidence that prayer doesn't work, but
Yes.
summoning, demonic summoning does.
But cash does.
Someone just made it possible that you
I
can
don't
go
know
to
what the hell
another
happened. I lost
snake convention.
Mine was the only system in the house that lost connectivity for whatever reason,
Uh,
and it's hardwire connected, so I don't understand that at all.
Well, you have
Oh,
enough to buy a new router now. While you were away, you made enough money to do that.
Well, thank you.
Okay, so I said that according to Genesis 35:22, Reuben slept with Bilhah, his father's concubine, an act condemned in Jacob's blessing in Genesis 49:4, which results in the transfer of the birthright to Joseph's sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, in Genesis 48:5, since the firstborn son normally got a double portion of the inheritance, as we see in Deuteronomy 21:17 and 2 Kings 2:9.
That's an interesting argument for the splitting of Ephraim and Manasseh into two half tribes under Joseph, despite the fact that he's not found anywhere outside of the. Yeah, okay, that's interesting.
On that same verse, he could not be listed in a genealogical record in accordance with his birthright. Though it seems that descendants refers to Reuben's tribe, as suggested by Dirksen and Knoppers, others, like Curtis and Madsen, Klein, and Japhet, suggest that this refers to Joseph's tribe, with the latter arguing that the interpretation that it refers to Reuben's tribe contradicts not only Hebrew usage, but all the genealogical records, including 2:1, where Reuben is enrolled first. She writes that there is, quote, a discrepancy between the conservative character of the records and the actual legal situation, end quote. On verse 2, though Judah was the strongest of his brothers and a ruler came from him. Knoppers comments, Judah's preeminence is also apparent in the priestly source. There Reuben is recognized as firstborn in Numbers 1:5-15, but Judah enjoys a primary position in the encampment of the Israelite tribes in Numbers 2 verses 3-31, and in the order of presenting daily offerings in Numbers 7:12-83. In Chronicles, Judah is the first tribe for whom Chronicles provides a genealogy. Judah's status is further enhanced by the extensive coverage given to its lineages in 2:4-423.
Yeah, and you can see how this is also about ultimately prioritizing the Davidic dynasty and lineage over, any claims of Saul's preeminence as king, since he was technically the first, and, any other later contenders to power who came up after the fall of the Davidic dynasty.
It could also represent that in, the pre-exilic Judah, kingdom of Judah, there would have been a lot more Judahites than anyone else, including
Certainly,
northerners.
yeah. The tribal heritage history and the amount of retconning that goes into that, because Benjamin also cast in her lot with Judah, but the 10 and the 2 is very much it's an interesting patchwork of but
I mean,
totally
Reuben literally in Chronicles here, we literally have Reuben. He has 4 sons, and then that's it. Like that, we have another family that starts with some guy called Joel, and and maybe he's a son of Reuben, maybe he's not. You don't know. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean
Very
it
very
would
small amount of names.
make
And
sense
Gad
that he
is
was
even less.
son
Yeah.
or grandson, but yeah.
Okay, so
Well,
on verse.
not
Sorry.
necessarily, because it says that things happen during their lifetime, right? So it says, like Beera is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 generations from Joel, and he was the chieftain of the Reubenites when King Pelessa of Assyria exiled him away. So 8 generations from 9 generations from Reuben. That seems a bit too little.
Yeah, for the amount of time involved, or supposedly involved.
Yeah,
It could be a case of just too many gaps, or going back as far as, and then not bothering to like mythologize far enough back.
Okay, on verses 4 through 6, Joel's genealogy is not connected with Reuben's genealogy, and is not mentioned anywhere else. In an attempt to connect the two genealogies, Peshitta reads, "and the sons of Carmi," instead of Joel. The Lucianic recension has Joel his son, a reading adopted by PSGD and Johnstone. Pseudo-Kara suggested that Joel was Enoch's son. Some commentators have suggested that the mention of Baal indicates the antiquity of the genealogy, and even a northern influence, according to Williamson. Dirksen, however, notes that Re'aya is found in 4.2 and Ezra 2.47 or Nehemiah 7.50, which suggests that we are not dealing with an old list.
He's implying that Raya is like a later name, which appears in other families later on.
Yes.
It still seems weird to have a Raya, and then Baal, and then Be'era. What's his name? Be'era. Okay, it's not a Yahwistic name, but still, to have a Baal, the son of a Yahwistic name, is interesting.
I still find it so strange when I look back at the birth order of Jacob's sons. It's Reuben first, obviously, fucked his dad's wife. No. But then it was Leah that gave birth to Simeon and Levi, and then Judah. Judah was actually her youngest physically, although the sons of her maidservant were also attributed to her, kind of. So it's interesting that her technically youngest becomes the heir. Though the excuse obviously given for Simeon.
A common trope in the Bible.
Yeah. No, but it's far more often just 2 and they're reversed as opposed to
but you got like
4.
David. David's the youngest son of Jesse.
You're right. That really is. It's the trope that continues.
It's too much. There's too much younger brother inherits everything.
I think they may be compensating for something.
Yeah, it's probably to do with one of the kings taking over from his older brother, or something, or more than one. Yeah.
I should note that in Targum it reads Be'era his son, who was Be'era the prophet, and McIver writes that Be'era is identified with Be'era the prophet, a reference one assumes to Hosea 1:1, where Hoshea is called the son of Be'eri. Be'eri can also be regarded as a prophet, in line with Leviticus Rabbah 6:6. Quote, "Wherever a prophet's own name is specified, and his father's name also, he is a prophet, the son of a prophet."
Interesting. I mean, that could explain why there is this 8-generation list that has no connection at the top or the bottom. The person at the bottom of the list is someone that we know already. So it being finding someone in the Bible that could be identified as him makes kind of sense.
Like Marjo, keep it in the family business.
Yeah, I see that PSGD also says that this is Be'eri of the Reuben tribe and Hoshea his son, something like that.
Okay. Is there a tradition that that Hoshea is from the tribe of Reuben,
I think so.
or is that based on this? 'Cause it's
I don't
that's
know.
a very loose connection. All right.
Sorry, just looking at difficult a lot. Okay, so.
All right, Nick.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I thought you were continuing.
No, yeah. Sorry, I thought I was muted. So on Tiglath-Pileser, on verse 6, in the Masoretic text it is Tilegath-Pilneser, referring to Tiglath-Pileser III. This reading is attested elsewhere in Chronicles, as we see in verse 26 and 2 Chronicles 28:20, as well as in Vaticanus, Targum, and Peshitta, which combines both with Tiglath-Pilneser. Actually, Targum also has Tiglath-Pilneser. Klein notes that a similar metathesis is found in Al-Mogim in 1 Kings 10:11 and Al-Gomim in 2 Chronicles 9:10, and is apparently due to euphonic reasons. He notes Manfred Oeming's opinion that the usual spelling of Pileser would sound like Pelesar, Wonder Prince, and that Tiglath would be related to lead into exile. Thus, the chronicler relativized this name by making these changes. He writes, however, that the Masoretic text vocalization suggests no such possible confusion of Pileser, and it is unclear why the chronicler would want to dissociate this king from exile.
Right, because normally it's Tiglat, not Tilgat.
Yes.
Yeah. Besides the Pilneser, yeah.
Yeah.
Chrissy keeps hearing the word penis, so you're obviously doing something right.
Okay.
We've had enough jokes about the pronunciation of Jewish names.
Yeah.
And,
Well, this is an Assyrian king, but
yes.
No, I know, but the additional titles and
yeah.
names and
yeah, he's the Sudarashi says that he preceded Sennacherib in English, and this was the sequence. Paul was king when Menachem the son of Gadi was crowned. In the days of Pekah the son of Remaliah, Tiglath-Pileser the king of Assyria came. In the days of Hoshea the son of Elah, Shalmaneser the king of Assyria came. And in the days of Hezekiah was Sennacherib.
Okay, I'm getting an audiobook of this part of the Bible, and it's going to put me to sleep every night.
But our rabbis explained in Sanhedrin 94a that Paul and all the rest of them are identical with Sennacherib.
Yeah, I mean, Pseudo-Kara writes it by the plain meaning this is not Sennacherib. But he notes the Midrash of Sanhedrin 94a, which he was Sennacherib, and he had 8 names. Yeah, and he had 8 names.
And he had 8, including Shalmaneser, which we know is another king, and Tiglath-Pileser and Paul, which is one other. Yeah, it seems that we will get to that because it is a very major thing in the Bible, where longer periods of history, multiple kings are reduced to like one, and this really comes to a head with the Persian period, where we have in history, like archaeology, we have between Nebuchadnezzar. Is Nebuchadnezzar the first Persian king, or is he the last?
No, Nebuchadnezzar was the Babylonian king.
Babylonian king, yeah.
And
so who's the one who conquered it from him? Darius or Cyrus?
Cyrus was the Persian king, yeah.
Yeah. So Cyrus the Great.
Darius was actually a Mede, who was a separate kingdom, though he might have. They were kind of a flash together. Yeah.
Not sure who he is, but yeah. So that whole period, there's like the Bible mentions only like 4 kings: Cyrus, Darius, Ahasuerus, and then another Cyrus, or Darius, and then it goes to Alexander the Great. So that's a period of like 200 something years with 13 kings, and they've compressed it into like, I don't know, 70 years with 4 kings. And
well, yes, they do. But they also it gets worse when you consider something like Esther, right? Because they're using names of kings that like
it's out
did
of
not
order
exist
as well.
Yeah.
Right,
well, and we have to. The reason that I appreciated that article about how Daniel is a forgery, even though it annoys a lot of scholars, because they're like, nobody has thought that this was actually written by Daniel. Like, we've all known this forever. And I'm like, yeah, unfortunately, there's an entire group devoted to not letting anyone outside of scholarship believe that. So we do have to call it a forgery in that context. It's same thing with Esther. All much later writings, much bad historical fiction, very little relationship to anything or anyone that was actually real.
Yeah.
But you get a holiday out of it, and you get to drink until you can't tell the difference between blessed as Mordecai and cursed as Haman. And I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, Esther being written as a novel is
That reminds me of a friend's house back in the 80s when they had a poster on the wall that says, if you drink until you can't drive, drink until you can't stand.
Good. Just go for broke. I'm not crawling out to the car, man. Not doing it.
I've got a comment from Carrie for $10 and says, how is this a major world religion? As an experienced dungeon master, I could easily create a much better religion in an afternoon. Make it make sense.
It's like bureaucracy where old stuff gets grandfathered in and we can never get rid of it because it's really fucking old, except people burn each other over it.
Yes,
and
I'm sure there's very few people on this panel will get this reference, but tradition.
It's like we're reading the appendices to Game of Thrones. It's like you go to the back of the book and you got the family trees and stuff.
We have Cinny who says we are still finding like new Dead Sea Scrolls and like accoutrements to like Christianity and other religions too. Yeah. So even more insane stuff hasn't been revealed yet.
Oh yeah. We keep finding new shit. I mean, it's not super quickly that we find new shit, but sometimes we find like a big trove of stuff, and that changes everything.
Sometimes it's not even so much new shit as it's like more old and therefore more accurate versions of some of the shit. And then there's
I see archaeology just really fucking up world religions, because when they found the Nag Hammadi library, missed that. We're not even getting into Ashurbanipal's library. Ashurbanipal's library turned everything upside down. But the Nag Hammadi library was like, this is what people in this time were actually thinking. This is what they actually believed in this area. And it wasn't that long after the alleged fact. And look how fucking all this is.
Yeah, it was great to finally have like a view into like, especially Gnostic works that were not written by opponents of it. So we could kind of see them for their own words, their own thoughts. But the thing is that wasn't really like, I mean, the Nag Hammadi library was great. It was a great find. But it's not like, people weren't like thinking about like, well, what do these people actually believe? Because they knew that they were reading biased polemical accounts. There was this guy who tried, there was this guy who tried to reconstruct Gnosticism before the discovery of Nag Hammadi. I mean, he got plenty of stuff wrong, but he also got some stuff right, on a more general scale. That was Walter Bauer's book, Orthodoxy and Heresy in Earliest Christianity. And that was released before the discovery of Nag Hammadi.
Well, good for him, though, because I wouldn't expect him to get everything right, especially when you're leaning on biased rebuttals. And we all know exactly how terrible Christians are at representing anyone else's point.
Right, yeah.
I mean, the misrepresentations are just like...
It's very rare to find good representations from
they did it once with that Mormon movie, and they did it once. That's the only time. But
it's very rare to get.
Back in this, when I was a little kid, when Bewitched was on, one of the things that character would do occasionally on various episodes, she would go back in time and dredge up some historic figure like Benjamin Franklin or whatever, and bring him into the present and talk to him for a minute. I think that would be fascinating. That would also be one of the most damning things for Christianity.
Oh, yeah.
If
half their heroes never existed.
Let's just go back and find Paul.
Oh, fuck.
That's Let's summon
Oh,
Jesus.
fuck.
We'd
And
have
then
to
you
leave
just get-
right away because Paul would just be an asshole or starting a riot or some shit like that.
Paul
Oh
was
yeah,
an
but if you bring
absolutely
Jesus, the
narcissistic
whole
piece of
thing
shit.
comes crashing down instantly.
You draw a pentagram on the ground, summon the real historical Jesus,
Seriously, think about
and then in
16
letters
of
made
them
of
pop up.
fire, and then in letters of fire it says 404.
Error.
I am quite
Code not found.
I realize that confidence doesn't matter for a whole lot in reality, but I am quite confident that if we could find the one guy upon which most of Christianity was based, if there is a central character to most of these stories who really lived, if there's that guy, and we found that guy and drug him forward in time, an interview with him on live TV would absolutely destroy Christianity instantly.
No, they'd just deny it.
Oh, they would definitely deny it. But I mean,
They'd say
You
he's
think
Satan.
Christians would
He's the
deny
Antichrist.
Christ?
Absolutely.
The guy who said
that
to
is
feed
the
the
whole
poor
thing.
and to house the immigrants?
Yeah.
You think modern Christians would object to that?
Okay, even I look, especially the evangelical Trumper types, they have started complaining about the woke bullshit when their pastors preach on the Sermon on the Mount. They're talking about the sin of empathy, which incidentally, a lack of empathy is the one true and absolute evil that
How did Christianity go
conscious person is capable of.
a complete circle from being renunciate, sell all your clothes to feed the poor, right? How did we go from that to prosperity gospel?
Power. One of the things my dad said was that some of the early Christians around the time, not like early, like Paul early, think like when Constantine made it a big thing and it started to get political power, they were weeping. They were like, no, this will corrupt everything. I mean, nothing is worse for religion than political power. It's a terrible combination. It always ends in rivers of blood and horrific atrocities that even the most greedy, selfish bastard would never have thought of.
Yep.
Just for the sake of greed.
Yep, I agree.
Some minor thing.
Danes are still nice people. Never had power.
Ugh. Yep.
Okay.
Tomer, are you done with this?
There are comments. Another one.
Okay.
All right, so from Cinny, $20. As a kid, I thought we believed Christianity because it was established and, of course, sacred. But one of the earliest events in my life to make me dubious was that we haven't even finished discovering these stories yet. Yeah, some of the Apocrypha, they go crazy. I wonder if there was a show on YouTube that read apocryphal works. Like,
come on.
A lot of them, I wonder.
There are so many good stories about young Jesus where he's acting like a fucking little satanic monster Damien and bringing pigeons to life but killing children who annoy him.
That's really good stuff. We do have a reading of a lot of apocryphal texts on my channel.
Yeah, what's the name of the playlist?
It was the playlist is still Friday Apocryphal Podcast. But eventually we had to change it to Wednesday Apocryphal Podcast. But it's
so
still
you
all
went
under.
from FAP. So you went from FAP to WAP.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Lawrence,
that wouldn't have been funny when we started the show, but then it became funny after that song came out.
Lawrence, since you like reading, you still have a comment that you didn't read because Arndt wasn't here. Remember?
Right.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I think it was when Aaron pronounced something, I'm guessing poorly. We got where is it? Right. Hagrides. Does that not mean people plagued by nightmare?
Yeah, the bit where the Simeonites killed the Hagridites. I'm not sure what that's got to do
the
with.
first little side genocide.
Yeah. But I don't know what's got to do with plagued by nightmares.
I have no idea.
You'll have to forgive us. Our brains are a little fried at this point.
I have been so busy this week. It's been hard to concentrate on anything.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's WAP day or FAP day.
Every day is FAP day. Anyways,
Just
let's
do both.
Tomer, how's your commentary
Well, I
doing,
have
buddy?
no trouble doing that.
I'm now on verse 10.
Great.
Okay.
On the Hagrites, in Hebrew it's Hagraim. Hagriim. Sorry. They are mentioned again in verse 19 and Psalms 83:7, which is 6 in the Old Testament, as Hagrim, where they are linked with the Ishmaelites and Moabites, who are the traditional enemies of Israel. It has been suggested that there is a connection between the Hagrites and Hagar, Sarah's servant, as we see in Genesis 16:1-16, 21:9-21, and 25:12. Already given in Baruch 3:23, traditionals Johnstone, Selman, and Japhet, who describe them as Arab tribes connected to Ishmael, compare Peshitta, which reads Arabs. Knoppers notes that some scholars connect the Hagrites with the Agraioi, or Agrae, mentioned by Greek and Latin geographers like Pliny in Natural Histories 6:159-61 and Strabo in Geography 16:42, and situate them in northern Arabia. This, however, is rejected by Klein. Septuagint reads, on those adjacent, reading Hagarim, and Targum reads, the Hongrites, which, K? Hongrites, yeah.
Oh.
Maybe it refers to the Hungarians. At least there is one manuscript which reads Hungary, or
Yeah, well, the Hungar were Central Asian, like steppe people, and they came to Europe, so it's not too far off, I guess. Yeah, so it's interesting because Hagar is the name of the mother of Ishmael, and she doesn't have any other kids unless Keturah is Hagar. But yeah, I'm guessing this is So I mean, Surah Rashi thinks that this is the Ishmaelites, and it's just like a name given to them because of the mother.
Yeah,
but
which wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. But yeah, women. It's kind of funny. Women are brought up occasionally, via their association with some particular story or some particular man, but it seems very random sometimes.
Yeah, it's like if a man has sons with multiple wives that become important, then it needs to say
which of his 6 wives this was.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it doesn't. Yeah, it's like if he's only got one wife, all the sons that are important come from the same wife, they don't even bother to mention the wife's name. Like we don't even know like David's mom's name, right?
No,
that
poor woman. Oh, it might be in the non-canonical, the extended edition stuff.
But his children, a lot of his children we know their mom's name because they're different. So we know Amnon's mother is this, and Daniel's mother is that.
According to Chazal, Nitzevet was his mother's name in Bava Batra 91a.
Okay, but they also have a name for the wife of Noah, who isn't mentioned in the Bible either.
Yeah.
Isaac.
I think it's Nama.
Matt clarified Hagrid as in more like haggard, as in disturbed from sleep, looking, feeling as if you'd been ridden by a hag or a witch all night. Hagrid.
No, you can't tell me
Hagrid.
The name of Noah's wife. Everybody knows it's Joan.
Yes. Obviously, that's why she cut her hair and led a charge against the English. Revenge her husband.
Although, funny story that comes from the alphabet of Ben Sira. Noah was accused by a raven, yes, a bird, that what did the raven say to Noah? He was
he wanted to send the raven away.
I bet you're just trying to sleep with my wife, or something like that. So he accused Noah of wanting to fuck his bird wife. So
oh,
I
I wish I could say that Ava sodomy is an unreasonable accusation to make of a biblical patriarch, but we all know it's not.
I mean,
Yeah,
he was
I love the
600
outfit
years
events, Sarah.
old.
Great stuff.
He was 600 years old. He was probably like about the size of a raven.
Evidently, he was into black chicks.
Wow.
Oh God! Oh, you're going to hell.
All right, so Cinny offers $20. Thank you very much, and says, "As a kid,
you read that
I
one.
thought
Read
we
that one.
believed Christ."
You
What?
read that one.
Yeah, I read that one.
Yeah.
Oh, you
There's
read
another
that
one.
Okay.
The next one.
Rich Hay says, "Aaron Ra, I know this is a bit off topic, but I was wondering if you plan to make a video about the recent news regarding dire wolves made by Colossal." Yes, I want to. It's just a matter of just like trying to squeeze everything into the schedule. My schedule has been nuts, and this would be really quick. I could do it really fast. I mean, I should do just like tonight. I should do something on this Colossal thing, and I'll give you a preamble right now. The genetic difference between dire wolves and wolves is more extreme than the difference between wolves and Lycaon pictus, the African painted dog. So if wolves and by extension all domestic dogs cannot interbreed with the African painted dog, then you definitely cannot get dire wolves and gray wolves from just 20 modifications of their genome. They found 20 differences, 20, and they made these 20 mods in the genome of gray wolves, and then they market that as if that's dire wolves. No, dire wolves are not wolves. Dire wolves are a prior form of dog distinctly different from. They are further away from wolves than Epicyon is from wolves. So this is an embarrassment that we have an agency that is dedicated to science that would promote something like this just for the sheer sensationalism of it. Sensationalism always ruins science.
It's like if they made a hairy elephant and called it a mammoth.
Well, they did do. This same company actually did do woolly mice. And they can claim that to their credit. That's a thing they really did. But then the same company started getting a little famous for that. And then they pushed this dire wolves thing. Mm-hmm. So you can see my frustration with that.
I definitely can. I mean, they could say a pseudo dire wolf or, closest approximation, but not an actual
dire wolf.
Well, okay, there's the mythical, the Game of Thrones vibe. On it's a marketing.
That's another thing I gotta bring up. The only identifying feature that Colossal, the name of the company that does this, the only identifying feature that they could come up with for what a dire wolf is that it's white, which means that my Great Pyrenees is a fucking dire wolf. I don't think, I will. The reason I haven't done my response yet is because I haven't done the research to verify this. I don't think, while being white at that point in like 11,000 years ago, it would have made perfect sense. Prior to the I forget what the big huge transition was. It was like a momentary climatic transition from the deepest maximum glaciation to a nice temperate climate, what we have now. The Younger Dryas. Prior to the Younger Dryas, Chicago was under a mile of ice. Toronto was under 2 miles of ice. So it would make perfect sense.
Underwater too.
It would make perfect sense for a canid, not a wolf, but a canid, a dog of some type, to be white. That would have made perfect sense. But I don't know that we have genetic confirmation that they were all white. What I do know is that they were not wolves. Dire wolves are distinctly different from wolves. We shouldn't even call them wolves. We just called them wolves because we thought that was the only form of wild dog. And it was after that they discovered Epicyon and the Borophagines. And the Borophagines, if you want, the thing that I noticed when you study the shape of the skull of a Borophagine, that thing does not look like a wolf. What it looks like is a 300-pound Cane Corso. That is a don't try to pet me dog. That's a fucking kill you dog.
I am a white woman. I will pet the floof. It is
I will
my
also
culture.
pet the dog.
This is
yes.
not a floof.
I will pet the dog because I don't value my life. I will pet the dog.
Okay, so we are talking about an excessively cold time, so it likely would have been in very shaggy, but the shape of the face, if you're afraid of pit bulls,
They're so cuddly.
just imagine a pit bull 4 times bigger and shaggy.
If they were
Well,
shaggy,
that just
where's
means
Scooby?
he wants more belly rubs. That
Here's
just
the-
means
here's
he
the
wants more
important thing.
snuggles and belly rubs.
When you look at
It's a-
epicyon, or if you look at a direwolf, in either case, these are fully carnivorous animals that have never had a minute of human interaction. They haven't had 20,000 years of interbreeding to bring out these domestic traits so they can read our body language and everything. No, this is a thing that sees us only as food, or in the best case scenario, a chew toy. Sorry,
stand by my
I feel
statement.
like I went on a bit of a rant there.
It's a good argument against the what they called again, the not the Atlanteans, the Boreal, like the people from the north. Like white people come from like
Boreans, because
Hyperboreans.
Hyperboreans.
Yeah, that's a weird.
Because if humans
conspiracy
evolved
theory.
in the Arctic, like during the Paleocene,
Right,
they would have been eaten up by the direwolves.
Arn,
damn straight.
as
Yes,
your
sir.
producer, I can just give you a tip. Clip this and you have a video about the dire wolves.
You know what?
Saves your
I think
time.
That's what he was
probably
going
just
for.
gonna do that.
Just take your face and stick a couple pictures in, for the comparative anatomy elements that we can't all visualize instinctively because we don't all know as much as you, but
Yeah.
By the way, we're off
I
topic.
do know that
Tomer?
the dire wolves, if you encountered a dire wolf in the wild, it would not be a Game of Thrones kind of thing. It would be more hyena-like, if anything.
I wonder if the women all had
cool, too.
penises.
I mean, hyena-like,
The
in
deer
just
wolves?
trying to imagine a vaguely canid shape that is not what we're used to as far as a dog. This would be very, very. It would be a canid. It would literally be a dog, but it's not a dog derived from wolves. It is not a wolf. It is older and far more separate from wolves.
Well, it sounds like a fantastic video. Tomer, how about we continue with that commentary?
Yeah, Tomer, quit holding us up here.
Yeah, we want to hear more about the Hagridites.
I should, however, it just reminded me all the dire wolves shit. There is the game South Park Stick of Truth, and there is a passage there, especially like in Canada. You know what dire wolves are, right? They're like wolves, but they're dire.
Yeah. Well, that's the Canada's a side quest in that
Anyway,
game. where you go around
I
and
had
visit
to.
Canada. Yeah.
Anyway, I had to hide the shame because we're not reading Chronicles. So we're now on 12. On verse 12, Dirksen comments, "This verse is unconnected with the previous one. We know nothing more of Joel. After him as chief, Shaphan was the second. Mishneh may refer to the second son, as we see in 1 Samuel 8:2, but Sheni is used for this in the genealogies. For example, 2:13, 3:1, and 15. After chief, the reference here is probably to a function, but what one is entirely unclear. The second half of the verse is also unclear. The name Shaphat occurs a few more times alongside Shephatia or Shephatyahu. Some commentators, like Rudolph, believe that after the first two functions, we should read Shofet, judge, in which case the Vav is due to Yod-Vav dittography. This finds supporting Targum, which reads Dina, or judge, while Septuagint has Grammateus. In any case, has conjectured a function here and has not translated the Vav. But there is no support for this in terms of content. In Bashan is superfluous after verse 11, but may be linked to the use of a source. Perhaps the use of this name led to the attachment to verse 11.
Right, because the Bashan is mentioned. Yeah.
Ah, yes, the king of Bashan.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, Joel and his son Shapham, or it could be like his deputy. Yeah. Okay.
On 14 through 16, commentators note several issues with this paragraph and is considered, quote, one of the most problematic sections in all the genealogies, end quote, according to Klein. As Japhet explains, quote, 1. Verse 14 presents a new family of Gad, the sons of Avichail. The registration method is, however, unusual, as it presents a unique and artificial combination of two methods. Usually the heading, these are the sons of, precedes a horizontal genealogy, which includes several names, but here we have a long pedigree of 8 generations of a single person. 2. In verse 15, instead of the expected names of the sons of Abichail, we find the introduction of another person, Achi, with his own pedigree of 3 generations. Achi's genealogy and status as chief in their father's houses has nothing to do with Abichail. End quote. She writes that the inevitable conclusion is that the text is corrupt, and notes 4 approaches for its restoration. 1. Assume that a long portion of the section is lost, which includes the names of the families who trace their origin to Avichail and to the name of the individual whose family tree is given in verse 14. 2. Follow the Lusanic recension and Peshitta of verse 15, which don't mention Achi. Based on this and the omission of these are the sons in verse 14, we get a coherent section which mentions Avichail, the leader of the father's houses in Gad, who had a pedigree of 10 generations. 3. Klein suggested that the phrase, these are the sons of Avichail, acts as a conclusion to verse 13, or to verses 12 and 13, rather than an introduction of another list of names. Thus, Avichail is the father, quote-unquote, of all the names in verse 13 or verses 12 through 13, and also a descendant of Buz. And Achi is identified as a chief in the Gadite father's family. And 4. Natan Evron notes that in most Septuagint manuscripts, Achi is part of a longer name associated with the Buz element before it. Vaticanus has Zabuham, probably from Buz Achi, and Alexandrinus Achibos. And several minuscules preserve Achi from brother and read Buz his brother. Thus, it seems that the version used by most Greek translations saw the Achi element as part of a personal name, which is somehow connected to Buz.
I mean, it's the word after it, right? It's the verse 14 ends with Buz, and then Achi is the first word of the next verse. But we don't actually know if there is a connection. But definitely not a family connection that we can ascertain, except that they're most probably within the tribe of Gad as well. Gad is interesting. There aren't even any sons mentioned. We have the tribe of Gad, and then we've got the sons of Gad, but then it just talks about a bunch of clan names, and then we have a little genealogy that ends in Buz, who's not connected to Gad. And then we have another little one with 3 generations with Guni. Also, yeah, literally, the people who wrote the Bible didn't know who Gad's direct children's names were. And
it seems like they were just collecting as many little snippets of genealogy as they could from anything that might be relevant and jamming them in the pot.
But I'm saying it lends a lot of credence to the idea that the 12 sons of Jacob or Israel are legendary and not real people, because they don't even know who the kids of most of them is, what their names were.
Absolutely.
If they actually were the ancestor of their tribe, there would definitely have been. You would think there would be people at least claiming to be a direct descendant.
They're all at least mythological, or if any of them were sort of renowned character tribal leaders that maybe some of the stories about might have been vaguely based in something like reality, that still doesn't mean that there were ever any sons of Jacob and Israel that was this thing. That was all. It's very mythological.
There are only 2 of the tribes, Judah and Levi, have a genealogical connection from the time of the kings.
And those are the kings and priests. Like that's
but
the thing.
But the northern kings have no connection to their tribe. No direct connection.
No, and that's one of the things. They don't keep any tribal connection consistent. The idea of preserving the specific lineage of kings and priests as within these two tribes is
all lost,
big, and everything else is just almost hand waving, is a conciliatory little bit of a sure.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just gonna check something real quick. Okay. On 18 through 22, Japhet notes that the narrative of the war between the Transjordanian tribes against the Hagrites is the longest and most complex of the genealogical introduction. It is similar in style, structure, and motives to other war narratives in Chronicles, as we see in 2 Chronicles 14, 8 through 14, 21 through 30, etc. The story seems to be an expansion of verse 10. She writes, quote, One may recognize here a literary process by which a short chronicon has been elaborated into a historical narrative, and a local shepherd's skirmish has become a large-scale war involving combatants from all the Israelite tribes east of the Jordan, a fully fledged and outfitted army of over 40,000 fighters. Their opponents are a coalition of several ethnic groups, and the fighting results not in the expelling of shepherds from their tents and pasturage, but in incredible quantities of prisoners and livestock captured, many fighters slain, and a total territorial occupation achieved. The combat is not placed at a specific historical point, but is integrated by its final remark into the general history of the people of Israel. Finally, the theological perspective becomes central, both in the behavior of the fighters who cried to God and thereby secured the results of the battle, and in the philosophical stance of the author, who remarks that the war was of God.
Yeah, I mean, it could be connected to. It mentions the King Yotam, or which is Jeroboam, the second. So maybe, the fighting force and the fight might have happened around that time. I mean,
good to know that if you ever have a question about moral inconsistencies in the Bible, the safest answer is always, because God's a cunt.
My God has a bigger dick than your God.
Except when you're slutty and go for those big Egyptian gods with their cocks like horses. That is weird.
I mean, Egyptian goddesses had wings that look very angelic to a modern eye.
Yeah, but the Zoroastrian gods had 4 wings.
Hence why the creepy angels had to have 6. I should have wings.
Yeah, get some wings.
Have
a Red Bull.
Tomer, quit allowing us into degradation.
I guess
God.
You're already degraded. I can't help you.
Told
okay.
you, not doing any degradation kink work for free.
Okay. On 25, the conquest narrative is not as pronounced in Chronicles as it is in Deuteronomy and Deuteronomistic historian. The chronicler merely acknowledges and affirms the stories, providing his own commentary to the events. The verbs ma'al, to transgress or act unfaithfully, and zana, to prostitute, is typical of Chronicles and is used to describe transgression against God and to pass judgment. And Japhet comments, quote, the transfer of the second exile to the first is implemented in Chronicles by its theological justification. The Book of Kings provides a long review of sins in order to account for the final destruction of the northern kingdom, 2 Kings 17:7 forward. But nothing of the kind is found in the matter-of-fact report of the first exile in the time of Tiglath-Pileser. The chronicler recalls the sins of the Transjordanian tribes in order to justify their exile, and he uses harsh words resembling those referring to the destruction of the temple and Jerusalem in the time of Zedekiah. Compare verse 25, with 2 Chronicles 36:14, all the people were exceedingly unfaithful, hirbulim ol ma'al, following all the abominations of the nations. And finally, on 26, the spirit of Pul, king of Assyria, that is Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria. Masoretic text reads, the spirit of Pul, king of Assyria, and the spirit of Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, implying two different Assyrian kings. Thus, Meyuchas ben Elijah says, the spirit of Pul in the days of Menachem son of Gadi, 2 Kings 16:9 and 10, and the spirit of Tiglath in the days of Pekach son of Remaliah in 2 Kings 9:10, 2 Kings 9 through 10. Most commentators take the Vav conjunction as an explicative, with Klein noting Moshe Anbar's opinion that a later scribe inserted the word Ruach, spirit, before Tiglath-Pileser. Dirksen notes Curtis and Madsen's opinion, and also Rudolph's, that 2 Kings 15:19, which mentions Paul, and 29, Tiglath-Pileser, have led to a misunderstanding of the writer that these are two kings. Peshitta lacks Pul, probably due to homo io-octon.
Homo io-octon?
Yes.
What does that mean?
I'm not googling.
Homo means
I'm not
same.
googling.
But then what? Can you write it out? Can you post the word? I want to see if I can parse it. Okay. Oh, so similar. Octon. So similar beginnings.
Beginnings, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, right, because they both begin with et ruach.
Yes.
So I just deleted one of them. Okay, that makes sense. I thought that's what it might be. Okay.
Yes.
So 27. Now we're gonna go to the tribe of Levi.
Well, Isaac, you probably don't know this.
What?
But in the Old Testament,
Yeah.
they combined verses 27 through 41 of chapter 5 of the Masoretic text,
Yeah.
which means that chapter 6 in the Old Testament is 81 verses long.
Yeah.
Wait. So you just finished chapter 5 in the Old Testament?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. So chapter 6, verse 1 in the Old Testament is chapter 5:27.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay, so that means that I get to read it.
I mean, it would, but because it is so fucking long.
Okay, so let's divide it like the Hebrew text. So you want to continue till?
Yeah, I can read as well. Like,
what is verse 41, Tomer, in the?
Oh god.
It ends with Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah. Just let me check.
I mean, I can read this one quick if you want.
Okay, so it's not super long if we go to the end there. Yeah, so it seems like verse 16. So 6:16 is 6:1 in the Hebrew. Okay.
Yeah, and it begins with the same words. The sons of Levi, Gershom, Kohath, and Merari is the beginning of the next chapter.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
And thankfully, I only have 2 pages of commentary for this chapter. So
yeah, it's very basic.
You are
We've
redeemed.
seen it before. I mean, this section should be in the Bible. They shouldn't have to make mistakes here, but I'm sure they will. So what? So, Lawrence, you're going to read it, or should I read it?
I mean, I guess I can. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Go for it, and I'll do the next one.
All right. So all the way through to the Nebuchadnezzar part?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. The sons of Levi, Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. The sons of Kohath, Amram, Izhar, Hebron, and Huziel. The children of Amram, Aaron, Moses, and Miriam. The sons of Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. Eleazar became the father of Phinehas, Phinehas of Abishua, Abishua of Buki, Buki of Uzi, Uzi of Zariah, Zariah of Mariath, Mariath of Amariah, Amariah of Ahitub, Ahitub of Zadok, Zadok of Ahimaaz, Ahimaaz of Azariah, Azariah of Yohanan, and Yohanan of Azariah. it was he who served as priest in the house that Solomon built in Jerusalem. Azariah became the father of Amariah, Amariah of Ahitub. Oh, I see. Okay, I get where the confusion comes from. Of Ahitub of Zadok of Shallum of Hilkiah of Azariah of Sariah of Yehozadok, and Yehozadok went into exile when the Lord sent Judah and Jerusalem into exile by the hand of Nebuchadnezzar. So before we get into the confusing names, I should point out that here it is at least explicit that God was the one who sent them into exile by the hand of the enemy, which that theology will appear more in the prophets, but the idea that these enemy nations, the Babylonians specifically, were acting as, part of God's plan. That was his
Peter,
was
just
his
check
doing.
our chat. Thank you. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. God is being an asshole. Please.
As is tradition.
As is tradition.
So this of course gets even more fucked up when we consider the fact that he's also mad at the Babylonians, so he destroys them with the Persians, even though he was the one who sent them. So, whatever, no theological issues there, am I right?
It's kind of like damning Judas because you sent him to betray you so that you could be found, so that you could fulfill your destiny, and then having him killed and damned for all eternity for doing that thing you needed him to do and told him to do, but also Satan made him do it. Because reasons.
Right. So Tomer, unless someone else has something.
So according to this list, it seems that the high priests were all from the same family. And it seems very short, right? So we got Aaron, Eliezer, then we have Phineas, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 generations, and then we have Solomon, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 till Nebuchadnezzar. That doesn't make any sense to me. But yeah, there are more names from Phineas to Solomon than there are from Solomon to Nebuchadnezzar. Or does that make sense, actually?
That's kind of hilarious.
Which is a longer period? Is the period of the judges longer than the period of the kings?
No, it shouldn't have been.
No,
I mean,
definitely shouldn't be. No.
I get that we may not necessarily have known all the judges, and also, quite frankly, several of them could have ruled at the same time and relatively, the people are spread out. There's not a centralized power the way they're supposed to be with the kings, hypothetically at least. It should not have been as long a period. I mean, just looking at the sheer number of names in the genealogy, even if some of them didn't reign for very long, because, the Game of Thrones, you win or you die. And nobody wins forever.
Right. Yeah, because kings from David, you've got
some of them had longish reigns.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. No, that's already the end.
And wasn't Assyria the largest power during much of the time of the kings, and they were constantly raiding them, and they oppressed them, but it wasn't quite as sort of standardized.
Right, the kings weren't king for that long.
Yeah.
Right? The kings,
but
were
not
having children early, and
they
were having children early and dying early and stuff.
Some of them lasted a good while.
So 19 kings and only, what was it? 10, 12 high priests? Whatever.
Maybe the high priest gets assassinated less.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I should read from the Masoretic text 1 through 30.
Wait, you don't have any comments?
I do, but like, do you want me should we finish
Lawrence
the text?
Lawrence just did a section, and I'm going to do the next section.
So
Okay,
you're
I see.
saying...
yeah, just to break it down so everyone's on the same page. I read through what is in the Masoretic text, the rest of chapter 5.
Yeah, 27 through 41. Yes.
Yeah. So I finished them, Masoretic text chapter 5. So you can go through those verses, which in the Old Testament ends at verse 15.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So Tommy, do you want to do commentary on those verses, and then I'll do chapter 6?
Yeah, sure. So on 1 through 15, which is 5:27 through 41, Dirksen comments, "This is the longest list of high priests in the Old Testament. Shorter lists are Ezra 7:1 through 5, which is from Aaron through Ezra, Nehemiah 11:11, or 1 Chronicles 9:11, which is from Achitub to Sariah or Azariah, 1 Chronicles 6:35 to 38, which is from Aaron to Ahimaaz. The present list suggests that the office of high priest passed down from father to son in the pre-exilic period, but this is highly doubtful. Presumably, the aim of the list was to trace back the Sadokite priesthood to Aaron. The artificial nature of the list is shown by the double occurrence of the names Amariah, Achitub, Sadok. Yehozadak is mentioned last, which suggests that the list was made during or shortly after the exile. The high priest Josiah, for example in Haggai 1:1, was not yet known, or the list was aimed to show that he, as successor of Yehozadak, belonged to the line of the pre-exilic or Aaronic high priests. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, I'll do what is chapter 6 in... where should I go till?
32. 32.
32? Okay. So we're going to go back to the root of the tribe of Levi. The sons of Levi, Gershom, Kohath, and Merari, and these are the names of the sons of Gershom, Livni and Shimei. The sons of Kohath were Amram, Itzhar, Hebron, and Uziel. The sons of Merari, Machli and Mushi. These were the families of the Levites according to their clans. Of Gershom, his son Livni, his son Yahat, his son Zima, his son Yoach, his son Ido, his son Zerach, his son Yeothrai. The sons of Kohath, his son Aminadav, his son Korach, his son Asir, his son Elkanah, his son Eviasaph, his son Asir, his son Tahat, his son Uriel, his son Oziah, and his son Shaul. The sons of Elkanah were Amasai and Achimot. His son Elkanah, his son Tzophai, his son Nahath, his son Eliav, his son Yeracham, his son Elkanah. The sons of Samuel, his firstborn Vashni and Aviyah. The sons of Merari, Machli, his son Livni, his son Shimi, his son Uzzah, his son Shim'ah, his son Chagiah, his son Asaiah. These were appointed by David to be in charge of the song in the house of the Lord from the time of the ark came to rest. They served at the tabernacle of the tent of meeting with song until Solomon built the house of the Lord in Jerusalem, and they carried out their duties as prescribed for them. Those were the appointed men, and their sons were the Kohathites. Haman the singer, son of Joel, son of Samuel, son of Elkanah, son of Joel.
Sure.
Joel. Okay.
Yoel.
Oh, I thought it was Jorel too.
Yeah, in Hebrew it's Yoel.
Yoel, yeah.
Son of Elkanah, son of Yerocham, son of Eliel, son of Toach, son of Tzuf, son of Elkanah, son of Mahat, son of Amasai, son of Elkanah, son of Yoel, son of Azariah, son of Zephaniah, son of Tahat, son of Asir, son of Eviasaph, son of Korach,
Son of
Itzhar, son of Itzhar, son of Kohath, son of Levi, son of Israel. So we actually went up the tree from somebody, and there is already a contradiction. And that's it. That's the part that I read.
No, it's 32. I said.
Oh, 32, not 23. Sorry. And his kinsman Asaph, who stood on his right, namely Asaph, son of Barachiahu, son of Shim'ah, son of Michael, son of Michael, son of Baaseah, son of Malchiah, son of Ethni, son of Zerach, son of Adayah, son of Eitan, son of Zima, son of Shimei, son of Yachat, son of Gershom, son of Levi. On the left were their kinsmen, the sons of Merari, Ethan, son of Kishi, son of Avdi, son of Maluch, son of Hashavyah, son of Amatzia, son of Hilkiah, son of Amtzi, son of Bani, son of Shemer, son of Machli, son of Mushi, son of Merari, son of Levi. And their kinsmen, the Levites, were appointed
32.
for all
We said 32.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Very good.
Yeah.
A lot more easier names in the Levites tribe.
Yeah. So should I do the commentary on this section?
Yeah.
Okay, so on 16 through 30, which is 1 through 15, Japhet writes that the original list consisted of 3 genealogical trees, tracing 8 generations from the traditional forefathers. In the second stage, a genealogy of the prophet Samuel has been transplanted into the line of the Kohathites in an attempt to provide Samuel with a legitimate Levitical pedigree. A third literary stage is found in the genealogical trees of the 3 head singers. She further writes, quote, "How should the sources, authenticity, and authorship of these lists be viewed? The chronicler could hardly have been sole author of all 3 discernible literary stages. He must either have worked out the last on the basis of the other 2, or alternatively written either the first or the second, which subsequently were elaborated upon by later editors. The further possibility that all 3 stages preceded the chronicler's composition cannot be excluded. It is not in the nature of lists to exhibit unequivocal linguistic or stylistic features which might betray the identity of their author. But if I, Japhet, should nevertheless venture a suggestion, it would be to ascribe to the chronicler this special preoccupation with the singers, thus attributing to him the last stage of reduction reflected in verses 33 forward.
Yeah, the 3 singers, Heman, Asaph, and Ethan. I think they're mentioned. Are all 3 of them mentioned in Psalms? Or only 2? Only Asaph and Heman. Because you have like a psalm for David by Asaph or something like that. No. I think Asaph and Heman are mentioned in Psalms. I'm not sure about Ethan.
Yeah. I think they also are.
Yeah, and it's interesting. They each have this long genealogy that trace back to different sons of Levi. One is a Merarite, one is a Gershonite, and one is from Itzar. Kohathites. But interestingly, Korach is mentioned, but I'm guessing it's not supposed to be the Korach in the story of the ground swallowing him and his family. Because there is another Korach that is mentioned, the son of Aminadav, but then Aminadav isn't mentioned as a son of Kohath in our first verse, right? We have the sons of Kohath, Amram, Yitzhak, Hebron, and Uziel, but then we have Aminadav, the son of Kohath, later on, so it's a bit weird. Also, there are a lot of names that pop up more than once. Elkanah is in both the Aminadav family and the other Korach family. But it actually comes up like 3 times. You have if you go like Heman, Joel, Samuel, Elkanah, then it goes through a couple, and then Elkanah again, then a couple names, then Elkanah again, and Asir is also mentioned a couple of times, also in those 2 different family trees. So they seem to be the same tree, except or the same family, except one ends in Heman and one ends in Shaul. But they seem to both be, and also they have 2 different ancestors. One has Yitzhak, son of Kohath. The other one is Aminadav, son of Kohath. Maybe they're the same person, 2 different names, but then the rest of the tree doesn't. It doesn't match, but it could be family names, you know?
This is what happens when
Yeah.
people make shit up and to fill in the gaps in their knowledge, and then other people decide that shit is sacred. And so when they make their shit up, they can't change the shit that was already made up. And then we end up with the Bible.
Yeah, and then like verse 28, you have like, was it verse 28? Oh, now I'm not sure because I don't know what 628 is. What's 628?
Add 15.
15?
Yeah, add 15 and then.
It's
son of Yachat, son of Gershom, son of Levi.
Yeah, the one that's talking about Samuel and his two sons, Yoel and Abiah. Because there's no connection to the rest of the tree there.
Oh, it's 28.
It is 28.
I don't know. They're not Mandalorians. I don't think they were terribly nice to foundlings.
No, 28. So what is it in the Hebrew?
It's 13.
13. Yeah. The sons of Samuel, his firstborn Vashni. Although Vashni, some ancient versions read Joel, and the second is Abiah.
Who specifically?
We don't know who that is.
But what happened to the two sons of Samuel who were killed when the ark was taken by the Philistines?
Oh, it's not talking about the kings. It's not talking about Samuel the
prophet. A different.
No.
Yeah. It's
no.
It's
that
Levite,
was the sons.
Probably.
Never mind.
We're talking. It's most probably talking of a random Levite that probably was serving in the temple or something, and maybe he was connected to the singers, but there's no. Well,
someone had a crush on a singer.
Though it seems there is one manuscript in Targum which inserts Elkanah before Samuel. I mean, there's like 4 manuscripts.
Yeah. There's this. Yeah. His son Elkanah, but that's the end of a line. Elkanah, son of Jehoram.
Yeah.
There's Shaul and Elkanah, and then of course we've got like the Aaronite priest line, but these are just. Yeah. It's interesting that you have 2 different possible Korachs who have descendants in Chronicles, even though Korach was the one who instigated a rebellion, but then I think there are Psalms that mention the sons of Korach. So
yeah.
Well, he had sons or wasn't there
survived.
Like whether or not the sons would stand with him, and then he and all of his house were swallowed by the earth, but maybe they pulled back from him and sided with Moses against their father, so they lived.
I remember learning as a kid there was a tradition of like if you go to a certain place in Sinai Desert, you can put your ear to the sand and you can hear the sons of Korach singing from some ledge in the underworld. Like, you know, like they didn't go all the way down. They stayed a bit higher up.
Yeah, they were blessed for betraying their father for Moses and are only a little way in hell.
Yeah.
Yay. Fucking yay.
And they're singing praises to God to this day.
Yeah, God is a cunt. Actually, no. Cunts are flexible, strong, and give life. God is an asshole.
So it seems that.
Yeah. There's a comment. Maybe Aaron wants to.
Let me take a look. So, science literacy says, question for Aaron. Could you do a comparative series on some of the most famous religions, starting with the oldest and going through the more recent ones like Christianity and Islam? There might be some value in that. You can look up the charts of evolutionary trees for different religions and how they're all based in each other, all the way since somebody decided that there was a spirit of something in something else, and they decided that there was spirits of something in everything. And I'm noticing that, like in Christianity, for example, they would recognize a spirit of something in someone, that this person is not Jesus that we're having dinner with because Jesus is dead, and this is another guy who none of us recognize, even though we lived with Jesus for 3 years. But then right at the end of dinner, we suddenly all realized that there was spirit of Jesus in him, and then he vanishes. So yeah, that might be something I could do.
The problem is I would say pretty complicated, because once you go far enough into the past where we have no sources on this, it's incredibly speculative, and like even our modern designations for something like animism might not even like work, because they might have had a totally different philosophy of these things.
Fair point.
They
and
would
we
be
use
insider
personifying terms for all kinds of things. If I look at the sky and say, damn, that is an angry sky, you kind of know what I mean. It doesn't mean I literally believe that there is a person that embodies the cloud who is pissed off at me because I don't know, what was it they blamed on the earthquake? Someone flashed their tits on a sacred mountain, like whatever it was. We've always used that kind of language, and I think sometimes we're ungenerous with our ancestors in remembering that they were human too and used idioms just like we do, and it doesn't mean they were all half-wits.
I remember a scientific experiment that happened after one of these evangelical fuckwits said something like that. Ignoring all of the topless beaches in Europe, said that the reason that we had this one significant earthquake in California was because women would show their bare breasts. And I don't know how this guy comes up with this conclusion or this assumption, because I lived in California and I wasn't aware of those kind of beaches, or just in general. But this is what he said. And so the experiment was on this one particular day that all these women across California were supposed to go braless. And the experiment was called Boobquake.
Did it work?
God, I love it. But there's too many quakes in California to give a fair result. I live in BC.
Yeah.
We have some quakes, not nearly as bad, though. Maybe I should go out and flash my tits to the universe and see if anything happens.
Well, the problem with California, doing this experiment in California, is what do you attribute it to? Do you attribute it to the bare naked ladies, or do you attribute it to the number of homosexuals? Because Pat Robertson said that this other earthquake happened in I forget what it was, Santa Monica, but wherever it was. He said this one earthquake happened because he said that the United States was the only country that allowed homosexuals to live.
Okay.
And that's why this earthquake happened.
Important point.
Very few deaths. I think like 2 or 3 maybe, but there was billions of dollars of damage because very rich property. The next week, there's a hurricane that hits in like Haiti, does like $32 of damage and kills 65 people. But that's not a problem for him. He's only caring about dollar damage.
Well, just to be clear, okay, our earthquakes are not as bad as California's earthquakes. But for people who are like, oh, I'm going to run away to Canada because America's on fire, literally and metaphorically, we love the gays. We love them. We had gay marriage 10 years before you did. So if you have any problem with my queer brothers, sisters, and assorted siblings of various types, no. You come here, you are automatically gay. Just the border, gay.
I
Okay.
was going to say you send the bare-breasted version into the volcano to appease the gods. She comes flying out and she's like, "The volcano god is gay. Send twinks."
Yes.
That's funny. So I hate to cut this party short. So I didn't know we're gonna try to get through 6 today. But I know we're closing in on 3 hours, but I do need to head out to do something because that's just been my schedule recently.
Tomar, you should have finished by now.
Yeah, it's all because I always talk. I like talking about dire wolves and about animism and all sorts of bullshit that is not relevant to Chronicles.
I up that we promoted our oil to America by saying Canada thinks lesbians are hot. Why would you buy your oil from Saudi Arabia? They kill lesbians and we think they're hot. Obviously, our oil is better.
I can't argue with that logic. So I think that
This
Tomer,
was-
did you get through your commentary
Government
through
of
verse
Canada.
30?
No,
Advertising.
Oh, okay.
I
Let's,
Do
didn't.
you think
Uh,
we should stop in the middle of the
All right,
chapter?
so we're gonna have to
yeah,
leave.
this is a long chapter anyway.
Yeah,
so,
we're gonna have to.
Let
Okay.
Tomer finish his commentary. Yes.
yeah, through verse 30. Yeah.
Okay, so we're doing 7 next time we meet.
We're
We're
doing.
gonna be finishing 6,
We're-
and then we're gonna be doing 7.
So we will pick
Yeah.
up on 7 next time.
No, we're gonna
No,
pick up
we'll
on
pick
6.
up halfway through 6.
Yeah, or the beginning of 6 if you're looking at the Hebrew Bible, pretty much. We can.
Yeah.
On
So
purpose.
Tomer,
Yeah.
please finish your commentary.
And Lawrence, thank you.
Tom, where you up to?
Tamara? Tamara, are you frozen?
Oh, did he really freeze now?
I can
Oh.
see a little cheeky smile there. I think he's playing.
I think he probably lagged out.
Oh
Otherwise,
yeah, maybe
no,
no, he is frozen actually.
All right, maybe
Good place.
maybe
to...
Lilith can think of something to talk about for the next minute or so while we wait for Tomer to come back.
I
Can you
mean-
hear me? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
Oh,
yeah.
there we go.
There he
You
is.
just wanted to hear
Gotcha.
more about the oil rig lesbians. Admit it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, since Tomer is back, we can no longer talk about oiled lesbians. We now have to talk about his rabbis.
This set of
And now Tomer's gone completely.
okay. I say
Before
the
you-
internet gods say we have punished ourselves enough with this genealogy.
Yeah. It
We
just
will
sucks because
come
like
back
I'm. It
the
just sucks because
temple
I'm like on a
religion.
time crunch too. So
I
like,
know. You're on
Yeah.
a time crunch.
All right, we will figure out what we'll do when we come back. We may have Tomer start with his commentary. I don't know, but we'll figure that out.
Yeah, I mean, we can always just repeat the
And I'll
first few
try and
verses.
find the advertising poster for the oiled lesbians for you guys. So
yeah, I think it would make sense starting with the Masoretic text, chapter 6. So
okay.
Yeah,
Okay, chapter 6. Thank you so much.
I'll repeat myself.
Good night.
Right. Bye, everyone.
No last words,
Go to the
Lawrence?
Discord.
Discord.
Subscribe to the Discord. Go to the Discord, and then subscribe to the Atheist. Go there.
Go to Lawrence's
Find the
Discord.
Discord.
I have
Damn straight.
to
My Discord.
I
No
have to
tyranny here.
remind you every single show. Just saying.
Okay, great. Go do that.
Yeah, we're gonna have a gaming night soon. Join.
Good.
Someone,
Okay,
some-
so for
Let me know.
some
Greg, before we come.
okay, for some fucking reason, Chrome decided to glitch out and crash. So
Okay. Say
Uh,
bye. Tomer.
okay,
Say bye,
Tomer,
Tomer.
say bye.
Bye.
fuck all of y'all.